That's so wild right now.
Hey, damn. Turn me up. Turn me up, not literally, I can't hear myself. So I'ma push the headphones real close to my fucking ears. I'm out of space, I feel like Britney Spears. Now my voice coming in a little louder. Hear me like your fears pumping in your fucking chest. As I'm whispering on beats and tap dancing on the rest. It's the best, west to the death. I spit every verse out of pocket. Everyone by the lock it like a key. They know that I'm running on streets, running on beats, running on freeze. I got 100 ideas in my head, watch I slow it down. I got 1,000,000 sounds, break them all down like I'm chewing on the beat, jumping jackets and shit. I'm back again with a new weapon, tapping in laxatives, shitty moves. I'm out of time, matter of fact, I'm about to give them kidding food. Eat this sweet piss, I'm back again, watch me feast shit. Grinding, rhyming, this a new rhythm. I'm about to drop the frail style tape and get on Indian, gigging, flipping rhythms. Got them tripping off this mittens. Switch the code down, took a breath, got them flipping on the road down. Watch the show start slowly as my grind goes, and the mind starts ripping and the time flows. I ain't even got a second to slow down, but it's your sound. This beat is weird though. I haven't ever listened to it like that. But I'm about to bring it back. Started the show and I'm about to bring it back. Do you like it or not? I don't know. I couldn't really look over to see if you was vibing.
This shit, I'm kind of
fast,
feeling it. Nah, you was killing it. I was feeling what you could do with it, but.
All right, welcome to Vine Tree Radio. It's your boy West here, chilling with Mauriwowi. My bad, you can introduce yourself.
Nah,
I haven't done this shit in a minute.
Yeah,
I just
it's
introduced you.
We're chilling. How's it? We're here introducing our guest.
Sus Yayo, as what I go by. But my real name is Yael. Yeah.
Okay,
That's good, that's good.
It's a hard ass name.
Thank you.
Honestly.
Thank you.
What is it like? If you don't mind me asking, like, where's that from?
So there's two parts to this story. So I get Yayo from just my childhood nickname, really. Ever since I was a little kid, I wasn't able to pronounce my name, Yael, so I would refer myself as Yayo. So that always stuck since, and I carried that into school because people also had a tough time pronouncing my name. And yeah, so it wasn't until later that I found out what Yayo actually meant, and Yayo because it's spelled the same way. But yeah. Reaching towards like middle school, that's when I was able to actually like form my clique and everything, and everybody would call us the Sus clique, so we kind of just embodied that, so that's where the Sus part to my name comes from, so hence Sus Yayo right there.
Nice.
That's all.
Very cool.
I feel like you already probably had your name whenever I met you at the point in time. Like, I didn't even ever thought to ask that though. Like, I always thought it was like just like a crew name. You know what I mean? And I thought your name was like the other part of it, like your actual name.
Yeah.
So like, you feel me?
Exactly. No, it's ever since like in high school. I think you've always kind of go by Sus Yayo. So I was like, I always knew you as that. But when you said that your real name was Yael, are you right? Yael.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's very cool. Because one, that's a very cool name. And when you went into that story though, about how you were saying about as a kid, like even you struggled to say, and that's what made you kind of change your name to Yayo, right?
Yeah.
That's super interesting and super deep into like, I don't know, just the thought of like like how like our names get chosen and how we like choose to say our own names and choose to go about our own names. And I think it's a super interesting story that you have there with your name. Super sick.
I appreciate that, absolutely.
Did you have different names before that?
Dog, like just Yael, like my
like music or like as like nicknames. Like, did you have like other nicknames before that like didn't stick or nothing?
No, like that.
People
That was honestly the first name that I got. As I said in 7th grade, they already labeled us the Sus clique, so we embodied that. So like I was Sus Yayo. I was with my homie Edwin, Sus Edwin. Shout out to him, and then my other friend Mike, and we all just like had our own kind of like alter ego. And at first it was all jokes, you know, like like I don't know, like that's when the word first kind of started like getting like popularized like on the internet, I would say. Just like I would say around like the early Tyler the Creator like era, like with Bastard and all that. So I don't know, like as I said, that's just kind of how we embody that nickname. And let's say almost 10 years later, and I'm still with it. So yeah, I think it's a pretty hard name, so I stuck with it.
Very cool. Very cool.
I was gonna say that I feel like we should probably get into like your background as far as like music, but I mean even like as far as like coming to Santa Clarita and like being here, because a lot of everybody's background so far that we've met like locally and whatnot kind of starts with how they even ended up here. Because sometimes like I think someone I've met here will be like, I'm from here, right? And then they're like, oh no, like I only moved here at this point in time. And they're like, oh, I used to live here and I used to live there. Like I don't really find out sometimes until I actually like get to talk to them and shit like that. And then they're like, oh, or then you find out that someone like lived here the whole time type shit. And I'm like, I didn't even know that either. Like basically, so it's like that's a big part of I think forming like your identity and who you kind of become into like as like an artist anyways, because like you kind of formulating, you know what I'm saying, who the fuck you are before you decide to be whatever the fuck you're gonna be, because then you're gonna process, damn, this is what it is. Like you said, you embodied that, so it's like you already kind of had like whatever framework it was for when that shit came to be like, okay, like this is it. Like, so I feel like that's interesting to see, and like people probably want to know that like type shit. Like, was you like how did you get to meet all the homies and shit in 7th grade and all that?
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. So like I'm originally from Mexico, bro. So yeah, I was born over the border down in Mexico City, and I didn't come out to California or until like I was still pretty young, around 2-3 years old. But we just hopped around like the OC. I lived out in Rancho Cucamonga for a bit in Azusa, and I landed out here in Santa Clarita around when like elementary school age, so like 1st grade. And yeah, like that's when I kind of got introduced to kind of like the core group of friends I still have now. So it's cool to come to a new city, really coming to a new country, first generation kids, and being able to find like a solid group of friends, you know. And like growing up out here was I would say like it's pretty tough. Like this city as far has a pretty like let's say like kind of record for like kind of like the racism and stuff out here, and that's something I experienced growing up, like honestly. And yeah, it was kind of, I would say it was tough in that aspect. Other than that, wasn't too bad or too crazy, because still it's a pretty nice I'm
curious like
nice
what kind
place.
of music like you was into versus like say like when you like I know you probably were hella young when you moved from Mexico, but more so like in your early years versus like when you came to like Santa Clarita, I guess in like elementary, or like even if you were listening to your own music thing, because we often have the conversation like for me it was probably like 6th grade about when I started like being able to really like listen to the shit I was listening to, like downloading music and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I'm saying, post that it was probably just like the radio and shit like that, obviously. But like at that point in time, I guess I'm curious to like when did you start getting into like music and shit, or like your own like the shit you were personally into?
Yeah, no, like I'll say around 4th grade was the time when I started to develop my own personal like taste in music.
Yeah.
And I could pinpoint it like exact moment. I used to jailbreak iPods and iPhones for my older brother's friends. That used to be my little gig. I used to make some side
I have a
money
song
off
about
doing
that, bro.
Yeah, for real.
'Cause that's how I got into music. Like I actually, our first song that we ever put out is called OA Nano, and it's about like how like I had an iPod and basically my homie did that shit for me, and like as a partner I talk about how like he came back and I had these jams in it like 50 Cent and Nelly and like all this really dope shit. And that was like my first time having music like kind of like outside, just on my own jurisdiction. Like I want this shit and like kind of listening to shit like that, and that's how it happened, bro. It was crazy.
Absolutely, like that's exactly how it was. I was exposed to my brother's friends' music, which was a lot of, as I said, like Mac Miller, let's see, like Colt 45 was on there. A lot of mix of like kind of like older rappers like Wu-Tang, Tribe Called Quest, and stuff like that. And it was all due to his friends, because my brother was more into like alternative like music, like the Pixies or like kind of like punk bands. So I kind of have two sides to that, because I still kind of hold that dear close. I love that type of music still to this day. I would say I have a pretty broad spectrum when it comes to music, but yeah, no, definitely. Like
for me at least, I feel like probably for Mauricio too, I don't know, like music is definitely like it played a hella important part in my life, and like all of those stages and shit, and even in me coming to being like who I am now and deciding to make music. Like it kind of started in like those little impactful moments in the beginning of kind of like being a fan of certain particular shit, when I like got the chance to be, I guess.
No, that's very true. I think like listening to your story, it reminded me a lot of like growing up. For me, it wasn't so much my older brother as much as my older cousin, who was basically like my older brother to me. Because I basically grew up with him, and he was always into like rock music, but just also like heavily influenced by like my uncle, and like just also like my aunt and stuff like that, like some R&B stuff. But we ended up getting really into Guitar Hero and Rock Band, and that shit blew our minds, because one, we were both like pretty competitive, so we just liked getting into it, like to see who was like nicer at it. So like we ended up getting into like the expert level and just shredding. But in it, like we've really ended up loving the music, and I feel like that was like such an integral part. And like later down the line, a lot of like the rock and like heavy style music that I enjoy now, like the punk music, is like accredited to like that young stage of growing up with it. And like I don't know, it's cool reflecting on like those moments and seeing like how those growing up with those things affect you later, you know.
Yeah, definitely. This is like a little like map almost of like kind of, I don't know, like where you get to like, I guess, certain points, and like the points you make find extra defining and shit. Like it'd be like, the reason why they be defining is like all those other little moments when it was like it was real in the field, and like you turn to music and shit to like kind of like figure it out. Like, and I feel like that's why I got into that shit personally, because it was like I saw that shit like as hella powerful, like that factor type shit. Like, and I always was like, damn, if it's hella having this effect on me, like it could kind of be worth, if I'm, you know, able to kind of get like do it and shit like that. Like once I figured that part out, I was like, well, it could have an effect on other people in that way if you kind of like do it a certain way. And I was like, I felt like that was always a tricky thing, but then I realized it was more personal as I got older. I was like, oh shit, like people put in a lot into this shit, but it's like they getting a lot back, and like giving a lot back to other people. And I was like, oh, music in itself kind of reflects, you know, life in that way. Like the way the fucking like the shit that all those experiences we fucking give, like the burnt ones, the trash ones, they really do make it for like, you know, when you have that one experience, it's like, oh, this is it, like all this shit lined up, and it kind of, that shit rocks with you all the way through. Like even linking with Mauricio and making the Vine Tree, you feel me? Like that was very like I used to live in Van Nuys until I was probably like in 3rd grade, and then I moved to Lancaster, and then I lived in there for like the majority of my life, and then I went here like for high school. But I probably wouldn't have kicked with Mauricio at any points in those times, because we didn't even really kick in high school until maybe like one class at senior year, and then it just happened to be like maybe in college, like in COC, then we ended up linking, and he was already doing music. Well, he was in a music class at COC, and then I was like kind of in a break between music type shit. So I feel like that's on that moment for me where it was like we hadn't decided the name of the shit that we was gonna be as a group yet, but we was like, nah, this is kind of like this, we're gonna embody this moment type shit as like this is what it is, because we kind of just felt it. I feel like it's like a feeling.
Yeah, it's a feeling. That's like the best way to describe it, because there's no other way to describe it. It's like trying to describe a color. You just can't. But
That's so true.
No, I definitely feel that for sure.
What music inspired you to like make music as like an artist though? Like basically past when you were just like being fans and shit. Like maybe like, you know, when you're in high school or like when you were like in, like what inspired you to be like, I'm gonna do this like myself?
Yeah, honestly, like if I'm a pinpoint an artist that inspired me to like come out and do the type of music I was doing back then, it was Young Lean. Like absolutely. Like I think that dude is crazy talented in so many ways. But when I first discovered him, it was kind of more like look at this kid. Like it was kind of more funny, and didn't take him as serious. But like I was like, you know what, like that's someone around like the same age that I'm at, and I would like to do something like that too, kind of make music to make people laugh. And that's how kind of everything started, just as I said, like more so like as of a joke. But slowly when I started realizing how much I love doing it, that's when I was like, no, like this is my passion. Like this is something
interesting.
Serious.
That's interesting to me because I feel like in a sense you pinpointed like almost 2 points of major influence where it's like he was like the artist, and that makes sense that he major influenced you kind of like to put your foot out like in the door with it, but it kind of reflected the way you put your foot out in the door with it at that time. Like it was because this was influencing me, like these factors of it. But then like at a certain point in time you're like, I loved it, and you're probably maybe influenced like at that point in time by like someone else, maybe like another artist or something, where you were like, damn, I really love this shit or something, because it's like after already getting put out in the door and seeing whatever the fuck you saw about it that made you be like, damn.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's why I kind of pinpointed to the start of why I started making music, and then like I would say like other artists that would influence my sound, like kind of growing up. As I said, like people like Mac Miller, people like I really love like that East, like New York sound. Like I loved Wu-Tang ever since a kid. Even a lot of like Ghostface Killah's like single stuff I really kept up with. But even like a newer age, like with Kanye and Cudi, like those were probably one of my biggest influences. I can't believe those weren't the first two names I can think of. Cause like they make timeless music. They make music that like I would say is really for like all age ranges. Even as a kid, I was able to recognize like the genius behind like these sounds. And like Man on the Moon, like when that came out, I was pretty young, but I was bumping that. I remember just like all the memories linked to that, as you were saying before, like the experiences linked to the music. Like that's something I can strongly resonate with, like for sure.
So it carries, I feel like we've mentioned this a lot on this show, I feel like, but it's definitely like one of those things where memories hold more to music sometimes than the music itself does. You know what I mean? Like a song can be defined as like good or bad just like based on the memories, but regardless of that, Cudi and Kanye are phenomenal. And thinking about Kanye, like when we're thinking about like the artists that are influential to us and like thinking of like the limits of it, for me personally, I was like, who would I think? And I was thinking of a couple other ones that I might mention, but Kanye was the one that I was thinking of. Like when you think of achievable limits, it's like, damn, this fool is insane. It's insane. It's and like timeless music, like you're saying. It's stuff that is timeless art beyond just music, because it's so much bigger than that. And like that in itself is so inspiring to see, like, wow, how much can be done and how it can be done. Some crazy stuff.
I know, like that's like the influential aspect of it. They're just much more than artists, you know. They're much more than just the music they make. Like yeah, of course their sound inspires me to kind of like the music I make now. But it's just, as you said, like all the other aspects outside that. Like I know that at the end of the day, like I would love to make much more than just music, even though music is my passion and I'll probably forever like continue to do it. Like I still have other things that I want to pursue, and with music that's something I could implement that into as well. So like I I'm very into film, so like that's something in high school. That was my top priority, and unfortunately that dream did get killed when I started working on sets for like actual movies and stuff. I realized
for some reason I felt like I knew that, but I didn't know that. Like I didn't like I didn't know that you like had anything to do with film, but like when I was making that topic, so I put that because I felt like for some reason that you like knew about films or like you or were into them for some reason. I don't know why I knew that, but like I knew it, but I had no idea that you actually like thought that as a career path type shit.
I remember you were in the classes fourth, like in high school.
That's maybe why. Like I maybe seen you in like a class or some shit.
I remember seeing you going around and filming stuff, but that's hard as hell that you went into like the industry. But I think can you break that down a little bit, low key, of like how that broke your spirit for it?
Oh, absolutely. Like it was pretty instantaneously. I'll say it was like the moment I came in. You kind of have to work your way up when it comes to like working on the movie industry. So you're always going to start at the very bottom, which is a PA, production assistant. And like when I say like they treat you like garbage, like they treat you like absolute shit, like on set. they make you carry everything around, like you're pretty much just like just like the assistant, but you get no respect at that. So after like a few movies, I was just like, like if this is what I have to do to get to the level I need to get, like I'm not willing to put in that work, because I would say the passion wasn't strong enough, because I have other friends that are currently still in that field and are succeeding in it, are working for like Lucasfilm and Disney and stuff like that, and they had to grind that out. They had to grind years of that, and like from what they told me, I'm glad that I kind of dropped that and continued on my own path, because I'll say I wasn't built for that, but shouts out for them, yeah.
Cause that's like I guess that's how it is on like most shit. Kind of like the other conversation I was having with the homie, like in regards to like we were talking about a conversation that had to do with more so like career and music, but it had to do with sacrifice and like kind of like the different types of sacrifices you're willing to make, and a lot of times like that's what really determines like the path that two people are on. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we could be boys and all, but it's like I may be willing to like, and we may be both down to do the same shit, but it's like people are honestly really willing to sacrifice different things, and I feel like that don't really make nobody better than nobody or like less than nobody. It's just kind of like your path, like where it's like there's certain shit I'm willing to sacrifice, and you kind of, that's some shit you kind of battle with yourself. You're like, all right, like I might add more of this, I might not, but then you gonna question like, damn, was that too much? You know what I mean? It's really a battle within yourself. Like, what are you willing to start? Like some shit you gotta kind of like go back and check the score on every day, like, cause that's what it determines at the end of the day. Like, where are you gonna go? Like, cause I feel like that in music and shit like that. That's kind of like why I feel like sticking to trying to make shit that's like you say, timeless. Like trying to make shit that's like maybe not necessarily like based on to capture the masses or the formula that's gonna capture the masses within like the time, but I feel like if that comes, I'm down to do it because I like doing shit like that too. But it's more so like I feel like I'm not willing to sacrifice art for it, you know what I mean? Because sometimes I feel like I could possibly be focusing on making doper shit versus being like, damn, I'm gonna sacrifice that. And then I understand on the flip side where some people are like, damn, like I can't sacrifice that amount of time though on waiting for some shit like this to catch. It's like I have to shoot all of my shots at a short percentage, and I feel like that's a lot of talk I have in music and shit, where it's kind of like it always brings me back to like sacrifice, because either way you sacrificing something. And that's kind of what I feel like you were saying about the film shit, where it's like you could get to the top, but it's like there's something is at what cost, and you might be down for whatever cost it is, but it's like everything is at what cost, like,
That's very true. It's super deep on so many levels. Like, I think it's beautiful that you were able to like say like, nah, this shit wasn't for me, and move on from it and do to what you actually enjoy, and like, or something you might enjoy more. Like, the thing with like these sacrifices that we have to make in life, it's so hard because it's a constant struggle. Because like with that sacrifice, like it's one of those things where sometimes when we say the word sacrifice, we think too much of like what we're giving up and not what we're getting, because I feel like the word just kind of lends itself phrasing wise to like what
That's
you
true.
lose.
But I think that's why it's about what you're willing to sacrifice.
Exactly, without a doubt.
Because
Because
you could focus on like on that part, but like be like, damn. But I just feel like the willingness part is the part I'm like tripping off. Because I feel like hell yeah, like I could be burnt out on like just only looking out on one side, but then you could kind of come to a certain realization of being like, fuck, like this is my ends of what I'm shooting or comfortable shooting. And then I guess to the whole conversation of like, you know, where you got the other side, like, do you even want to be comfortable? You know what I mean? Is that even the place to be in? Some people would argue, you know what I'm saying, not, but like it depends.
It's hard because it's a constant.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, like, where I was having this conversation with someone recently of like about this kind of this whole ordeal on like complacent or the sacrifices that need to be taken sometimes in order to achieve things, and like with that, like what that can turn into and like what you ultimately lose with it. And it's hard because like it also the thing that I ended up thinking about it though is like, but it also ends with moments where you're like, either it's hard because we live in a world where like if something doesn't, like something is bound to like something is going to take that place, right? And it's like either someone does or someone else does, and it's like you have to fall into like, are you going to be the one that ends up there, or are you going to be the one that ends up below thinking about like, damn, it would have been nice to be there? You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, sometimes you can rock with some things, and I get it, like it's all about ultimate goals, like because that's what sacrifices are meant to achieve. Like a sacrifice should only be taken to achieve a goal. And that's what I'm saying is like that's where it gets too much like lost in the word sacrifice of focusing on what you lose as opposed to what you gain. Because like if you have a certain goal in mind, then taking these quote unquote sacrifices are what lead you to this point.
I got an unpopular opinion though on this topic. I just thought of one.
Yeah.
That ultimate goal, I think a lot of people get confused with thinking that it's worth, like the other way around, like thinking that it's worth it all. You see what I'm saying? Like that a lot of people's ultimate goal or whatever the fuck they want to achieve, they get caught in the illusion of it, I think more times than the other side, that they want to lose it all. That they feel like everything is worth it to get to that.
See, I agree.
And so I feel like sometimes when people bring up the other side, they forget to think of how much numbers is on that side.
I think I agree with that, but then like this is where like it always just gets blurred, and the subjective point is that it's what's the goal. Like you, like the focus is like.
But no, that's what I'm saying. No, I personally,
up.
That's the unpopular opinion. Is that I didn't get this. Is that I don't think any goal is worth most of what people is giving up, which is unpopular.
That's some deep shit, and
that's what I'm saying.
And I will say, whilst I can agree with that, I think also most goals that people give up on, if you talk to those people,
or no shit, like,
when you talk to those people and you ask them like, hey, if you had a second chance at life, would you have done it differently? I feel like a lot of people that are in the position where they give up the goals would say, I might have made a different move. I might have like maneuvered. And don't get me wrong, there's people that like,
because it's just as true on the other side, where they would have been like, I would have gave all that shit up to have so and so back. Like because there's a lot of old ass niggas you'll meet like that.
No, that's
be
fact.
Rich as fuck, and they'd be like, bro, I wish I didn't have any of this.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Like, I wish I didn't have cancer.
Because like that's what, but that's like, and that's where like I'm glad you brought up that point, because like that's where I said like the focus of the goal, because the goal is money. Yeah, you're gonna lose a lot of that other stuff on the way. But if like your goal is like community and like what like health and like stuff like that, then the other stuff is what you lose money.
That's
you
true.
know what
But
I
I
mean?
think
And,
the
like,
unpopular opinion is that that the peace of mind, I think, is what I feel like most people want, and I think they confuse that all of those things are going to achieve that. Like they think money is going to achieve it. They think the family or community shit is going to achieve it outright, and that's what I'm saying is like they'll give it all up over whichever one they become illusion to.
without a doubt.
No,
But my question is like, all right, if that's the case, right? That if any goal that you go too hard towards,
I'm not
like
saying don't go for goals, but I'm, you know, you
so
should
if,
still
no,
do
if that's
it.
that's my point though. Like if any goal is gonna end up in a bad case from what you're arguing, correct?
That's
But, like,
why what you said was right earlier about the flip side about, well, a lot of fools, if you ask them at the end of the day, should they have gone for it?
Mhm.
You feel me? Like, did they really achieve the peace of like when they were stressed out and they're like, you know what, I'm not doing this shit. Like, it's like I'm giving up too much. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like years later, you might look back and be like, man, I wish I would have stuck in the film shit. It might have only been a few years. Like, I'm not saying that for sure happened. So therefore, I feel like your argument, in that sense, you kind of have to be right because I know that goes down. Where there's a lot of fools that will exactly have the exact opposite response to that, and it'll be dead ass true. Where they'll be like, damn, you know what I mean? Like looking back, I should have fucking went for that shit, even though it would have been a minor setback for a major comeback. Like I know that's real.
Yeah,
that happens. Or some fools are like I know you're pointing it. You know what I'm saying? That I'm just saying I feel like the unpopular opinion is that I think that the scales is tipped the other way more than often. Not to say they not tipped that way a lot. You know what I'm saying?
the way I look at it is that if those are the two options with it, is that like either you, like I don't even know what the second option is like really, other than like
it's either it's
like
your regret on
abandon
either side. I'm saying regret on either side, like that you didn't, that whatever choice you picked on it, like kind of like saying that it was worth whatever sacrificing achieved you the peace, or saying that nah, this wasn't worth whatever I was gonna sacrifice, but then at the end of the day you was still losing sleep over not going for it. You know what I'm saying? Like either one possibly didn't achieve you the fucking inner peace you thought it was gonna give you.
See, yeah, that's my point with it. Is it like if either one won't give you inner peace, then like why wouldn't you pick the one that you at least?
That's what I think is an unpopular
towards more
opinion. Like I
peace.
think the popular opinion would be that like, well, if I don't know either way, then I'm gonna just go for it. You know what I'm saying? And my popular opinion is the other way around, where it's like I think that like, to be honest, you like there is some answer in like kind of like determining what you willing to give up, and kind of like really find an inner peace. Like I think it really is a way you could kind of determine what will bring you inner peace, kind of like, I guess.
But
I think it's less
we're
and
ends of the spectrum here though. Like in the ends of the other end of the spectrum is what, giving up like any will. Like that's my point to it, is like, so what is it? So your choice is to either have a goal or no goal, and like what is it there?
I think I can see that's not my question. My question is about the willing. I mean, I'll explain it. It's about the willingness of what you're going to give up for the goal. Because yeah, you can have a goal or not. I'm saying that whatever goal it is, going for it or not, I'm saying that the idea that it's gonna kind of achieve like a certain sense of like, so much so that you're willing to give up whatever X other things is. I don't think either side of it I don't think there's either way to say that one of those is better on the other side. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I can see, I can see that argument. I can see where you're going with it.
Nah, I think I definitely agree with you, Wes. Like as far as I feel like a lot of people do get caught in the illusion that once I get this house, all this cars, and all this money, like I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna be happy. But nah, like you see it happen all the time. It feels like it's almost like a weekly basis now that we're seeing a lot of artists like pass away due to like certain like drug habits that get developed through their career, because of course they're not the happiest. Like they go through shit just like everybody. So I feel like it is important to kind of find somewhat of like an inner peace before you start sacrificing everything, you know, like and I don't think even at that you should be sacrificing absolutely everything, because at the end of the day, like well, what's
maybe if you was on some That's So Raven shit, right? and you really saw that like you really had a vision on some shit, you came up to yesterday like, you know what, if I fucking do this and this, like I'm like, I know this is gonna fucking happen, but shit, you not, like, I don't think that be happening. Like, I don't think motherfuckers come in knowing what is gonna happen, or
no, without a doubt. I agree with you. No one knows what's gonna happen. Life is a fucking variable in itself. But my point with it is that, like, I think when we're talking about this idea of giving up everything, that, like I said, it's all subjective to the goal itself. And like both of the examples that you guys have provided for like the negative of it has been centered on like money. And I get it. And I said I agree with that argument.
Well, that's why I tried to do the family one too.
I know,
because you brought it in. That's what's important.
Yeah, but my point with it is that, like, but what if you flip it to the goal is ultimate philanthropy? Like, would you argue that Mother Teresa hasn't given up a lot to get to her point? Would you argue that, like, all the people who are known as like the top philanthropical people in the world haven't given up a lot to get to their point? Like, my question is, with like, it's just a structure of goals. Like, if your structure is money, then yeah, you're gonna lose a lot of the other stuff. But if your structure is love, if your ultimate goal is love, if your ultimate goal is health, if your ultimate goal is community, if your ultimate goal is like those things, then you maybe give up money in that process, but like that's the loss that you take. My point with it is that, like, there's certain goals that, like, yeah, you have to, like, and then in that process, if when you look at it in that light, is it like, oh, do you put more attention to the goal or to being like, nah? Because then it's like, okay, it's a different goal. My point being with that.
See, I know that argument, but I think the unpopular opinion within that is that goals versus false expectations, and I know the danger. It's almost like, while I understand the danger with putting too much weight on the false expectations and living in false expectation land, but that is the thing, is like, the unpopular opinion about it is that maybe people put too much weight in the idea that it's good to have goals. Like, I feel like I know that it's good to have goals, and I know people can give me all the backing on why it's important for people to have goals, but you know, what's all the backing on the false expectation factor within all these goals people say, and what it does to people generally over a period of time that we've kind of seen? That, like, yeah, there's all the other side of it, that, like, yeah, it could benefit you and it gets you motivated and all that, but we know that. I'm more so saying that, like, I'm popularly that I think it does sometimes more harm than good, because people have false expectations, and we are humans, bro. Like, we not really like these super kind of like strong robots where we able to internalize shit in a way, like, we weak a lot of times, so it's like we can't handle more than often, you know what I mean? So it's like, I feel like we ain't really built for it like that. Like, we ain't built for a lot of the goals we want and we set, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, then it becomes the idea of, is this a goal, or is this just like a false expectation? Or is this the idea of, like, when we tell kids you could be the president?
But I could definitely see Mauricio's point.
Yeah, I feel you.
As far as, like, what drives you. So, like...
yeah, like, you need goals.
Yeah.
You need goals, and you need to keep focusing on the goal part about it, no doubt. Yeah, like, I can't really argue against that, but at the same time, you know, it's just the same shit where it's like, I feel like I feel like that's a popular opinion. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like it became so popular that the opposite is happening, where it's like people need to fucking, like, focus on, like, being happy with what they have. Like the song, like J. Cole. I feel like that's the perfect example. Is like, certain people would get triggered at that idea because of the argument you're making. They would get triggered because of the facts in your argument. They would say, "Wow, that's complacency." You feel me? That's being comfortable. But it's like, why that song got a million fucking, why is that song a hit song? Because it's a real life ass song, bro. It's like, it's internalized to many people on earth. That's like, bro, maybe this complacency shit is propaganda, bro. Like, they just want us to all be in the fucking rat race and keep going when you could be content if you started to fucking change your mindset up.
All right.
Like, happy. Not content was the wrong word right there, because actually I meant to say you could achieve inner peace and all the shit I was talking about earlier, because content has a negative connotation. Okay. Content makes you sound lazy, you dig? And I didn't mean to say lazy.
But all right, to touch on that, there's like, you're kind of like, you're stepping on like a blurry gray line.
Yeah,
of
like I'm trying to paint it a different way than that, because I understand the other side of the argument.
Lazy to not do it, but
yeah, because like I understand the other side of the argument, but I'm trying to make
this.
it like somehow clear to the people that would think that it's obviously lazy to be like, this is maybe like some of the other parts of it.
It made me laugh when you're focusing on like the when you said like, oh, like this might be a popular opinion of it, and I was like, I guess it might be, but like, and I guess that's a thing, because don't get me wrong, like,
well, we live in America, bro.
Even in Reddit, like I follow like the unpopular opinion subreddit. I love reading those to see like some really unpopular, like some stuff that's deemed quote unquote unpopular. But even within that though, like it makes me also think like, isn't it a popular opinion that like the earth is round? Do you not agree with it? Like, just because like it's a popular opinion,
there are some niggas that are still rocking with the flat earth. I thought that died out, but
without a doubt. But just because it's a popular opinion, is your instant thought like, oh nah, like there's gotta, like, I get it, like don't get me wrong, of like questioning shit, like I respect that, and like
especially if I feel you on science, because I
love playing devil's advocate. I love playing devil's advocate and trying to think of it from the other side. But at the end of the day, like it comes down to like, even if it's a popular opinion, like sometimes there's a reason why it's a popular opinion. Like, is there a popular opinion like why it's hot when the sun is out? Like,
I feel that, but in this instance,
to an extent, like there's a
but in
reason
this instance,
why.
I feel like it's not really like that for me, at least, because I have this conversation daily to the point where it almost irks me that people think that it's that much of a like an obvious way to attack career in life. You know what I mean? Like where it's like. And I'm like, it's obviously not, if you look around at the times, like, and what's going on in the world with people's mental health. Like, it's obviously not like some, like, just, bro, people need goals and motivation.
So if your goal,
you know what I mean?
No, all right, so here's my question to you. Like I said, it's always in the determining of the goals. And you said it's not, and like you argue that it's not even bad to have goals. Like you're trying not to argue against that.
I'm
but
saying
like,
that.
let's say the goal is now to just enjoy your life as is, and you do everything to sacrifice against that.
What do you mean sacrifice against?
Whatever that entails. Maybe
sacrifice against is a very confusing term, because
that's my point with it.
Mean?
Is like, what is it you're really losing when you're certain things to gain certain things?
And
like,
that's the point where I'm saying is it should
it's
be
all subjective.
No, I'm saying that should be obvious
to
you.
Really,
hold on, let me explain. I'm saying that question right there, it should be obvious to you. It almost seems like you should obviously put that in the objective for you, but it seems like you obviously don't, because you're saying to live contently in the life you should live. But let me finish the statement though, because I'm explaining, like, essentially when you ask that question, like it's right there in the answer when you say that it's subjective. It's the fact that I think that there really is a personal inner peace that everybody could reach when they figure out what they're willing to sacrifice. That's the unpopular opinion that I'm saying is, I think it's true outright.
How is that unpopular?
It's unpopular because I don't know if you can, let me explain why it's unpopular though. It's unpopular because I feel like it's unpopular obviously because, see what I'm saying, you saying a lot of this stuff as if it's second nature, and I'm gonna explain to you why it's not second nature to the masses and everybody, because it's not like that. The way you come to that realization about that shit is not like some shit that like we all do, because of how we get clouded with the other idea of the goals that we're chasing and shit. Generally, like the way it's pushed, most people are trying to chase a specific goal that we've already kind of institutionalized in them is what they should be doing, you know, in life. Like you should be going for this or that, whatever. So therefore, when we get to that point, it's not like some shit most of the time people did ahead of time before the fact. They didn't sit back with themselves and say, yo, this is like what I want to do. This is like, so therefore, going back to the question you was asking about like what makes it, like what are you losing? And that's what I think it's almost arrogant to say what is someone losing, because you're the type of person that is almost like, what more can I sacrifice to get there? Like you got to think about that when you address these questions. Like it's like I think about who the fuck I am, and then but maybe that's why it resonates so much to me, because I think about who I am and I'm like, oh, this makes 100% sense. Like there's certain shit that like motherfuckers really want to do, but there's certain shit like you really feel like it's not me to sacrifice. Like, yeah, I could do this shit, but it's not me too. Because people can do a lot of things that aren't them. We've seen people do 1 million things that aren't them, and that's the question when you get into what are you sacrificing. Let me explain that. Right. When you get into what are you sacrificing, I think that's why it comes off as like, yeah, because a lot of people can do a lot of shit, bro. So yeah, therefore you can look at them and be like, well, you're not really losing nothing. You're just gonna be doing a little bit of what you don't want to do for the same thing. That's what you do at work. That's what you do at, you know what I'm saying? I'm not dumb to that argument. But what I'm saying is that to even delve that far into that, it's kind of not acknowledging how firmly people have these personal factors about shit and how nuanced that gets.
Okay, I think this is beautiful because we're focusing on two different things here.
I would think they're the same.
I got you. No. They're similar. I'm focused because, like I said, for me, it's about what is the goal, and for you, it's about what is the sacrifice. Hold up, rock with me. That's what I'm trying to
say. I'm talking about them together, though.
I know. Rock with
individually, it's two different things. I would agree with you there.
Rock with me for a second here. All right. It's for me. I'm focusing more on like understanding because. It's funny, like literally almost on a day-to-day basis, I feel like I meet more and more people that have gone like all the way deep in like one direction, and it makes me realize like how much I really don't like going all the way deep in one direction. And it's like realizing the sacrifices that come into it. And for me, it's like, okay, the sacrifice, like what you lose to get here is not worth it to get there. And so I'm constantly, rock with me, just rethinking of the goal. That's what I'm saying, is that like, all right, well, that isn't, I see what it is, and I'm like, that's not what I want it to be. So like, I need to figure out how to achieve what I want to achieve by not doing that. And so like, it's constantly like figuring out your own path based on that. And like, but my point with it is like, it's changing your goal. Whereas like, when I'm saying like, this is like the focus on like what you're gaining and what you lose from it is like, the sacrifices change like almost daily based on like what if you're changing your goal. But on the like the point of like what are you losing as a sacrifice, yes, like that's a key factor to consider. But I'm saying is like what you're like what I'm saying is like what you're gaining is that's the ultimate thing of like,
all right. And I think the other like, thing weighs more. So like, right there where you just said like the other part and like, yeah, that's the thing, and you said, but I think that's the ultimate thing. I think that they're either like this together or what you sacrificing is more based on my experience in life personally. And I think you could say that's not unpopular. I think that is unpopular because I think people, because of what people are focused on, because that's like, I could explain it like why it's only unpopular because people are focused on like essentially probably the money and all that other shit. So therefore, if you look at it both, you would say, nah, like if I'm focused on that, this works better for that. That's what I mean by unpopular, if you get what I'm saying. Like,
I think we should like people drop the idea of the unpopular opinion. Just say that this is your opinion.
Nah, like, I don't want to.
There's no need to preface it with unpopular.
It's helping me definitely explain the argument at least I'm making, because I'm not really arguing the same exact argument you was making. I was talking about literally how the idea of what you're saying, it kind of helps because it helps me say I completely understand what you're saying. It's damn near easy to understand what you're saying. That's what I mean by what I'm saying is unpopular. Like, it's damn near easy to understand your point, but I'm saying my point is a little bit more nuanced in people's personal preferences and the weight I put on them. I don't think it's so much of like a what are you, I think it's like people are generally giving up a lot on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, every decision you make is a quote unquote
sacrifice.
But
I don't think it's like, and that's what I said. I don't think that's, but whatever people are giving up on a day-to-day basis for these said goals, like I said before, I do not think is most of the time worth it. Whatever you change the X or the Y to.
Okay, so interesting. All right, interesting. Let's move on to the next topic. This was super deep though.
Absolutely, yeah.
I liked it. I love it. This is the stuff I love on this pod.
All right. The next topic I guess we kind of get into is graphic design. It's a interesting topic because this, I can just preface it. I mean, before you guys know, don't really do graphic design like that. I've helped like the ideas behind shit that I thought was like cool and I wanted a picture of, but outside of that, Mauricio does the graphic designing for all of our projects, our albums, all the covers, everything we've done as of date, pretty much, except shit we've probably like outsourced through other people, you know what I'm saying? But like in our camp, it's been, you know what I'm saying, him. And I know that's what you do as well, and you'll get into that right now and like how you got into that.
No, yeah, I absolutely, like graphic design has been my life, really. And like something I like to emphasize is that everywhere you look, pretty much you see graphic design. You see, whether it's the advertisement or a billboard, like there's always someone behind that put their art and design into it. So that's the main aspect of why like I really love graphic design. But I've always been surrounded around it. I've been surrounded around, by a lot of it throughout my entire life. My pops was a graphic designer, so his whole life we came to the United States for that reason. That's why he got a job over here, and he started up at a firm. And the reason we moved to Santa Cruz was because he also got a job out here. He worked for like a mountain bike magazine, but he was more or so on like the like kind of magazine side of it. But graphic design is so broad, like there's just so much things that you could do with it. And I like to kind of focus on the cover art aspect of it. I love cover arts, and like I feel like it's a really important thing when it comes to a project, because it really captures the feeling and I would say of what the artist is trying to portray before you even get that first listen. So like that's why I think cover arts are very important, and that's the main thing I love to do. But ever since high school I was working freelance with that.
You must have been hurting when you seen the new CLB and the new Donda covers.
Bro,
the two biggest albums. Like the most like
you don't understand,
most underrated like covers and shit like.
Nah, absolutely. I think a big reason why I kind of didn't like CLB that much is that's the first like reaction I get, that the cover art. And it's like it's Damien Hirst. I don't know if, like you're too familiar with him, but
I'm a sick artist, right, from the UK. I've never like heard of his shit, but like I heard that he's the fool who like did it.
Or he's the richest artist, but his thing is kind of to piss off like art. He makes very simple shit, and it goes for like super expensive. And I don't know, that's just like my view on him. Maybe like I don't know, like people have a better insight and kind of understand it in a better way. I'm still kind of open to it, don't know too much about it, but I do know his impact and influence and the criticism he gets. So I saw it in that way, so I gave it a pass. But still, it's like, come on, man, like I couldn't accept it for what it is. But hey, he did a good job at kind of giving the like listener a heads up of what they're gonna get into.
Though, bro. It's like you put so much into like fucking like. I feel like I remember even when your first page came up, it was like all album covers. Like I remember it was like, and it was really sick ones too. Like thank you. I remember the homie Matt had a song, and then he was like, you did the album cover art for him one time when I was making music with him, and I was like, this is pretty ill. Like, because his mixtape dropped, and he did like 3 different covers, and he drew one, and then one you made, and it was really sick.
I
remember that shit.
No, like I've been doing that since high school as well, and like I'm self-taught. I don't take classes for this. I don't go to the college for that, but I did have a really good teacher, which was my dad, and then my older brother as well, since he's currently doing graphic design for like full-time, like an actual like job and everything. So if I ever need any help with anything, like I had really good mentors to go to. But at the end of the day, YouTube is always like my biggest friend, you know, like
YouTube University.
You know, for real, YouTube University is a real thing. Like I feel like that's where I kind of self-taught myself like the most from. Ever since a kid. But I've just always been fascinated with computers overall, and programs within it. So that's why I've kind of dabbled into music and graphic design and video editing and all that like jazz.
That's sick. Yeah. I feel that a lot. I feel, like resonate a lot with a lot of that of what you were saying of just how you feel about the album, like or how you feel about like the way the album cover like or art single cover whatever. Like,
did you guys feel the same about Donda though? Because Donda didn't have nothing on it.
I was gonna say,
we kind of slipped by that.
Yeah. I'll come back to the.
I forgot. I was like,
and I think it's a super interesting aspect of like just the whole because it's like a whole, you want us to look at it, the whole package, you know, of like a song or like a, you know, of everything. And it's like almost like, even though music is like the 80% of it, like it's that 20% that like, if that doesn't look right, like it's gonna be off-putting sometimes. But the off-puttingness also can be something that's a reminder. And like when you made me think of, when we're talking like the CLB and Donda covers, like the Drake one, honestly, when I saw it initially, I was like, interesting. I was like, it's different. And that's like always something that you gotta commend. Like, I feel like I haven't seen,
like, it made you think of something at least.
Exactly.
Like what?
Exactly. It made you think of something like what? I didn't like, I didn't think of like it was something like graphically like, whoa, like this is something like, you know, expertly made, you know, necessarily. Like,
it was just weird looking.
Yeah. But like also with it, now that because I honestly have no idea about the artist.
Yeah,
so, like,
yeah.
And when you mention like, I guess who he is and like kind of what he is into, like of that kind of shock factor, of that kind of like disrupting art, I was like, this makes more sense because Absolutely. Like that's it achieved that goal. Like, and ultimately we're sitting here talking about this album cover. Like, how many other album covers this year have come out that are warrant a discussion? And like honestly, this is my gripe with like a lot of like album and single covers, that like there's so much stuff that like is just trash because like a lot of it goes unnoticed, but the stuff that is great and that like forever sticks, like will forever stick, and like it's album covers that you'll never forget, you know what I mean? And it's absolutely.
Like, bro, I'm pretty sure I seen like a few weeks ago that the baby from Nirvana was suing Nirvana, bro.
Yeah.
For being on the cover. Like, this shit's still going on
come
to
on,
this
bro.
day.
That's probably that's a great example of one of the most memorable covers ever, you know what I mean? And like with that, I feel like Drake maybe achieved that with this one, because like this is one of those covers that it's so
dead ass though. I'm not gonna lie, like when you look back, like when I'm like 30 or 40 or some shit, and you see like just the list of all the albums in like the decade,
you'll know exactly
like that little image is gonna just stick out right there, because it's gonna be a bunch of real ass pictures of fools trying to flex their hard ass album covers, and then it's gonna be like one with pregnant ladies on it. Like
that's the thing, because when he made the teaser for the album, it's all his iconic album covers. Yeah. It's literally like, I don't know if you've seen it, but the entire thing.
I didn't see the trailer.
Like I really, when I looked back though, I was like, damn, he kind of got this off like once or twice. I didn't think about it, and then I was like if you're reading this, it's too late. It was kind of just some writing.
It was just right on it.
And I was like, damn, like that was like, I could have done that one.
He gets artsy
but
with it.
I understand
but then Take Care was like ill as fuck.
Or Nothing Was the Same. Like that's iconic.
Nothing Was the Same was pretty cool.
So like the teaser was all those covers. It was him like recreating them. So I kind of see it like he's self-aware. He knows that like
exactly.
Like,
that's what I peeped. That it was like, it's kind of a theme though. I realized where he make all of his covers look like kind of goofy, but then there's like a reason for why. Like with the Views, like where it's like he was all little and shit, and then they put like a bunch of people memed like as him and shit. It's kind of like a marketing plan, like where you think it's just like some regular shit, and they're like, oh well, this is why. Like damn.
Oh, we can circle back to the marketing on CLB right after, like because that's some like deep, interesting stuff that I feel like is some real shit. You know what I mean? That's going on. But like while we're on this topic of the covers, I want to talk on the Donda cover, because we haven't talked on that one.
And there's really nothing on it. It's just blank.
I know, but like within that's also, I don't think.
Sometimes blank album covers go hard though. Like a red one.
Yeah.
I would say like an all red album cover is kind of crazy.
Well, the thing was, he can't go all red because he already did like.
Because I would say he already did the Yeezus, and that one had some shit on it. But Yeezus was the one where it was kind of like. Didn't that shit just have like one red tab on it, and it was like a clear CD?
Yeah, it was like CD, white and kind of clearish, but but it's like when people do like the all single colored albums, like it's usually like what they try to go for as like their quote unquote magnum opus. You know what I mean? When they go for their all, it's weird because not weird. It's interesting because Kanye chose this one to be that, and like I guess you can make that argument. Like I guess it makes sense because like it's really personal to him, exactly for Donda. Like and like it really has just like a really thematic.
He's been trying to make it obviously since she was alive, because she has like the whole vocal quote in there and shit, like talking about being on the album.
You know, so I get it. Him trying to go for like some crazy like, and with that, if you're thinking in that end, it's like. how do you encapsulate that? And so maybe to him seeing it as like that, he went for like that full like no color approach. But it's interesting because now we get into the topic of just first visual, you know what I mean? Because sometimes we don't get the full like actually 9 times out of 10 you don't get the backstory when you look at art. When you go to a museum, like maybe it has a plaque under it that says like some little shit on it, but more often than not there isn't. It's like you see just the picture and like it's on you to make your own decision, and like, you know what I mean, you don't get that context. So saying that, having said that, like disregarding the deepness and the meaning of that cover, like how do you guys feel about like just blank covers of like just those monochromatic covers?
As you said, I think it's very fitting when it's like somebody's magnum opus, when it's like when the artist knows like, oh, like this is it, like what I got is like what's gonna set me apart. And I feel like that's when it's like acceptable. That's when it's like anytime I see that, I know I'm into, like I'm gonna be hearing something that like the artist really put like their all into. So it as much as I emphasize how important album covers are and stuff like that, I could also see like the artistic and marketing aspects of it, why people would make controversial art covers in order to get more attention to it, or why people do no art covers like Kanye.
For me, I think it's pretty much like a juxtaposition. Like it's kind of like trying to emphasize the fact that I was focused on the art on this album. Like I was like, he even says it on there, like on the song like Heaven and Hell, he's like, no more logos, no more promos and shit. Like, cause I think what he's trying to get at was like painting that like aesthetic of being like he says that shit a few times on there. He's like, even if I gotta do it with no promo, but I think he's like, he doesn't really have to do it with no promo. It's almost more so like an artistic choice, which goes into the idea of, I appreciate it when that's what you're trying to get off, I guess. Like, which is, I felt like that's what he was trying to get off. Like an instance where he really wanted to highlight maybe like everything but the rollout, where he's like, just the art, like, you feel me, like, which is the performance, including the performance, you know what I mean? He's like, I just want to highlight you watching this shit or listening to this shit, which I don't want no outside thoughts type shit, because maybe he's known for, like, in his sense, it's a juxtaposition, being like known for all the outside shit, like all the shit I say before, all the things that are gonna, like, you know, the drama behind usually fuels his album rollout. So I think in that sense, like, and not say every person in that sense, I guess, like, you don't gotta be fucking like, that doesn't mean you getting on your music bag, but I guess it kind of does in the sense of what you guys are saying, like it's your magnum opus. Like when you do that, it does kind of mean like you bringing all attention to this piece of work. Like it's almost like saying like I don't gotta say nothing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like this shit's just gonna speak for itself.
It's deep. But while we're talking on that, I think it's interesting that like so you think Donda had no marketing or like no promo?
Well, the performances, that's the tricky part. I think those performances could be considered promo if you wouldn't consider them the art he's also trying to bring you to, which is watching, you know what I mean? Because they're live experiences. Because they're live experiences, like they're live, like, you know what I'm saying? It's like a play type shit. So it's like, if I count that as album experiences, like, you know what I'm saying? Then I would say there's no promo. If I don't, like, which I could see, you know what I mean? Because those are in promotion of the album. He's going around doing shows, but you know what I'm saying? Then I would say those promoted the album, which was a pretty ill way to promote the album. Yeah, even if you want to say that,
super
like,
ill. No, don't get me wrong. He had a.
But I would. That's my opinion is that I wouldn't consider promotion. Like I said earlier, I think that they were damn near live experiences where it's like he's also trying to say like blank cover, watch this. You know what I mean? Like come watch this. Like don't have no interpretations until you see this shit or hear this shit.
I think. My honest opinion, if that was the case of like how he wanted the art direction for it to be, is that he would have kept it that way, made it a stadium.
Bro, that's why he said they let it out without his permission. He had that shit going for 3 weeks.
I know, but for 3 weeks, but like,
and then they dropped it. Well.
Yeah, but then if you only do it for 3 times and then you drop the album and then like the album rocks on, then I'd make that argument as the promotion for the album. I understand like it might have been an artistic,
and you gotta give him the credit. He didn't want to drop it then either. Yeah, he could have fucked around and said we going on a world tour.
Yeah, maybe, and like that would have been cool if that was the case of like you can only hear this album if you're here.
That's
or
what
if
it
you're
was
watching
for damn near a month though.
it was
That's
and
what
it
I mean.
wasn't because people were like recording it. It was leaked
had a
the
live
whole
stream.
thing. It
It
was
was a
live streamed. You know what I
Apple-
mean? For
yeah.
some of them,
Yeah,
like
but you had to pay that shit though. They were all
No,
live
it was
streamed.
free. It was all like a,
For real?
a
Oh,
free
so I
live
paid for
stream.
that shit.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
From the
damn.
one I watched.
Oh damn, yeah.
regardless, my
some
point being
more.
with it is that it was out and like it was getting the attention of like the media. Like it was doing what it
Definitely,
needed
yeah.
to do, and it wasn't a fully finished product the whole time through, from my understanding. I didn't watch any of it because I
feel like it's
like,
hard to say
I
something as
enjoyed
promo because
Kanye
of the reason
shenanigans,
it
but
leaked.
on this one I was like, you know what, I just don't have the time to keep up with it. But like,
It's almost because it leaked is why it's hard for me to consider it promo. Even though it is promo, it's hard for me to consider it because it leaked. Therefore, like you're not really promoting it when you dropping it. Like that, you know. Therefore,
let's talk on that now.
Let me explain. Yeah, and I agree with that. That's you could disagree, but in my opinion, that's why. Like, if you're dropping this shit, I don't think it's you could be you're promoting people to like listen to your album, but it's out. Like, and I love Kanye because he's always done that shit. He did that shit with Life of Pablo, where it's like if I'm performing that shit, it's technically out. Like, he'll say I'm dropping it this day, and then we think it's coming out, and he's like, oh nah, I just dropped it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, so I
Two
see how
things.
it's like a loophole, but at the same time, that's the loophole I'm rocking with, where it's like,
I know. All right, well, two things. I'm actually, you brought that up. The fact that he's done it before with Pablo, like on streaming services of like changing around a couple times, you know what I mean? It shows that it's possible to an extent. Maybe after that they were like, yo, this is some shenanigans, we can't do this again. Who knows? But to an extent it is possible, as it's been shown, right?
Yeah.
And so the idea that it, like, this is just me saying stuff out loud, rock me for a sec, right? That it would be leaked and him being like, yo, this wasn't meant to be out right now. He easily could have just taken that shit off and like flipped it with the new version of whatever he wanted to flip it with, right? Rock, and maybe the label would have given him some heat for it. Maybe they would have given him like, you know, we can't do this, we're over it, like it's got to be out, whatever the case may be, right? I still think, and I made this argument with you before, or like not argument, but like I made this case with you before of like, I think it was put out intentionally a week earlier, not at the same time, just based off the length of it and the length of Drake's album. The label knew both albums were going to be long as fuck, so they're like, yo, realistically, like on this weekend that comes out, are people going to listen to 3 hours of music nonstop? You know what I mean? And so it was like,
Yeah, I agree with
it's
that.
gonna be, hold up, walk with me. And the thing was, they were also focusing a lot on like this quote unquote beef between, you know, Kanye and Drake, and like that's been a really driving like promotional factor for this whole thing. And so it was like, let's give people the time to enjoy Donda for a week or 5 days, and let's, you know, let them digest it, get their opinion on it, and then we put out the Drake one, so then people are like, okay, this is what it is. They can have the full like, this is what it is against each other, and like you can have even like the release numbers of being like, all right, this is what it released, this is what the numbers were on release, this is what the numbers were on release, what was it like better, if you want to compare those two, or like now the numbers of like what's rocking now, you know, what's holding stronger now that they've both been out, whatever it may be. Like there was a lot of focus on that beef, and I feel like the quote unquote leak might have been a little bit more like structured, in the sense of like that was just the planned rollout. Maybe Kanye didn't agree with it wholeheartedly, but I also think that like there's a level of like staging between like Kanye and Drake in this whole beef situation that they're both using to their advantage, of like propelling them to being like the hottest. Because don't get me wrong, the music, it warrants it because they are who they are, but like also they're definitely taking advantage of the media coverage on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what I was gonna say is, I agree with like the majority of the end of part you're saying. I think I have a disagreement on who's doing what and who has what power. One, don't think Kanye has the power. I don't think he released it on purpose. I think Universal wanted exactly everything you said to happen. I don't think Kanye's in control of that, and I don't think actually he even wanted that to happen. I think that they didn't want both of those albums to come on the same day. So everything you said, yeah. But when you said that he didn't on purpose, I don't think he has the power over them. I think that's not what he wanted. I think he wanted to drop his shit the same day. They dropped that shit without him because of all the reasons you said. Everything else correct. My reasoning and who has the power, in my opinion, and who had the and okay,
like, maybe he didn't want to drop it.
Yeah,
that
so
day.
I think all those scenarios
are.
are. So I'm saying the whole scenario about them and all that shit, like the more marketing. I think that exactly happened. I just think that they did that shit and he didn't want to, because that makes sense for them. They own both of the acts, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones running the shot on that, where it's like, okay, we own both of the you know what I'm saying, we're getting a big percentage of both of these acts. They're signed to, I'm the parent company of these whatever the fuck their individual labels are. So I think they are the big boy in that, regardless, to say that, like, that's just my opinion on the fact of, like.
No, I agree with that. I agree that that's definitely how it went down. And when you painted that picture of just, like, it's just the argument of, like, the release date, like, all right, he wanted to release it on that date, like, specifically, like, then, yeah, maybe he just didn't have the ultimate power to fight that. Because once it's out, it's out. You can't really unput it out. And
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think he really got it like that over
But, like,
Lucian and
unput it out in, like,
Universal,
that
where he could be
sense,
like,
like-
yo, dog, like, nah. Like, he is Kanye, but, like, he just got out of a lawsuit with them niggas trying to own his old shit.
Because what I was saying in the fact that him being able, having the power to change stuff was more so like if the album wasn't done to his to his liking, you know what I mean? Of like, okay, this album wasn't what I wanted it to be. It was just.
And I do feel you on that, because I've heard that opinion a lot, where it's almost like it's such a high level, like how is accidents and shit happening? Like there's extra security codes on mixes and shit. It ain't just like, you know what I mean? It's like the top fools. Like there's not like, but at the same time, it's almost like that shit still be going on though. You seen the text that came out this week where he's like, go find God? He's like, he fired his engineer, bro.
Shit though, but it's, if there's leaks and stuff, like you got to figure out where it's coming from. If there's a rat somewhere, like, you know, like, and so like, yeah, that has to be, like, that makes sense. Like, you know, you got to cut it where you got to cut it. But
yeah, I
in,
understand,
like,
like just being on that level, it's hard to imagine that, like, some shit
there's
is
no way it's
there's some
like
shit
a
is
full
not going.
accident.
But at the same time, I could see why though, because it's like you're dealing with the bigger company of them both, because you're dealing with Drake, and Drake signed to Universal, and it's like Kanye even signed to Universal too, you know what I mean? Def Jam Universal. So
it's some wild shit. That's interesting to see this whole promotional thing between these two, man.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw it when in Toronto when COB dropped. There was Donda promo.
see, that was
all posted
Kanye. I
around,
think that was him flexing his power.
So yeah, so that's what I think. Yeah.
That was him getting his, like, all right, I can do whatever the fuck I want. Like he put up a bunch of billboards like the same day in Toronto, like when that Drake's album came out that said Donda. And
I
shit.
literally just like overshadowing
Like
it,
next to
like,
his
yeah.
billboards.
That's
For real.
That's funny. But see, like, you know, they're kind of using that beef shit to.
But that shows me that
Semi-propel
he
them.
didn't really want it to drop then. He probably was down for the
same day.
He was down for the mixiness
He was
of the
down
same
for
day.
Yeah, he was down for he wanted the smoke on that day.
But he was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna get any, like, you know what, like, whatever. Like, I'm not understanding. I'm gonna put a billboard next to your billboard. Like,
but to take it back to like the whole like when he was doing all the shows at the stadiums and stuff, I don't know if you guys saw how much money he made from just like the rollout.
oh, I
of the
forgot
album.
about that. That's what I think pissed him off too. That's what made me think
That's
like they put that shit
crazy.
out forcibly as well. Because
Yeah.
bro, this fool made millions with Apple on all of them.
Like
Three times,
bro.
yeah.
Not to mention
And the
fucking
album's out, and
concessions,
people are
merch.
listening to the album now. You know what I mean? It's
And the
like,
merch,
imagine you own this music, right?
Yeah, it's just the
like, you know what I'm saying?
streaming rights
This
for that
fool,
one.
exactly. Like, this fool owns a percentage of this music. I own this music, and now this shit, everybody bumping this shit. They done made millions off this shit. They looking at this shit like, bro, some shit's out.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're also talking about a billionaire at this point, so making $1 million to him is like
That's why he's
chump
like,
change. He's like, nah, I need that to
keep it going,
To keep it
to
going.
keep this billionaire ass business going.
But low-key, I mean, he spent, like, think about like the expenses that goes into, because yes, I mean,
Yeah.
like we always talk about
To
like
be a billionaire, it probably costs
artist
a lot of
contracts.
money. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Without a
That
doubt,
you have to
bro.
spend each year. Like, you probably got to spend at least more than over $1 million each year on your businesses and shit.
especially if you're Kanye. Like
Yeah.
realistically, like look at his shows. Like when we're talking like production value and like what goes on. You know what I mean? Like sometimes he can go for the really simplistic approach. That's total finesse. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I get it. But he's
Some
like,
socks that say Jesus Christ and shit. $100.
but like even on that, like he's always kind of overcharging on that. If you ask me, like on all of his merch and stuff. But what he does, like in those production values, at least, and like in his endeavors, he usually goes for stuff that's like kind of over the top and kind of like, and that costs money more often than not. You know what I mean? Like
Travis in that regard.
exactly. You
That's
know what
why
I mean?
fucking put
And
up
so
there
like
in that regard.
sometimes they make a lot, but like more often than not with these headlines, what they include is like that's just like the gross, what they made, like this, what they got paid out from ticket sales, but not what had to go back towards like booking the event, booking like the production crew, doing all of that, like,
which is why they go and do these deals with Apple or like McDonald's, because they need to make a fucking couple of million that they could just finesse outside of that, because the regular shit they're making on the show is gonna get thrown back to the show.
But don't get me wrong, I'm sure Kanye's making a fucking killing, because his Kanye margin on stuff is insane. Like, he upcharges insanely because he knows people are gonna pay, which is crazy that people are willing to pay so much for some of this stuff. But
that is I guess the whack part about Kanye, and not Kanye in general, that it is like, I'm not explaining it. It's almost like it's interesting to see him and Drake battle, because they do sit damn near at the same place in that regard, like as far as popular culture and shit, like where people would just go out and buy your shit like no matter what. Like they literally could damn near fart on the track, bro. At this point, and it's like I think they could still sell that shit for like $5.99.
I mean, Kanye kind of did. With
yeah, when he was poop-diddy scoop.
Yeah, bro.
Like
shit, man.
It's just, I guess that's like a different level of like just household name type shit, you know?
Yeah.
And you can. So this is actually great. I'm actually glad you talked about it like that, because that brings us into the conversation, in my opinion, of like NFTs and like the future of like, I don't know how familiar you are with like NFT. I'm sure you are pretty good extent, like with graphic design and stuff, you know, like, but with it, like you see such a range of stuff, and there's stuff that literally does just feel like, I'm actually 100% certain that someone has recorded a fart and sold an NFT of it, and it's probably at this point sold for thousands, if not like hundreds of thousands.
Elon Musk fart or something.
You know what I mean? I guarantee it's out there, like but it adds to the literal point of like the subjectiveness of art, and it's crazy how much money goes into like this art and stuff. And I was kind of curious to get your thoughts on this. Like, what is your thoughts on like
as like a
fine art
designer and like the NFT world? Like, what does it mean to you?
I mean, I definitely see it in a way where it emphasizes the subjectiveness of art. Like, as you said, motherfuckers out there selling farts and like and stuff like that. And like my brother was on it like when it first was starting out, and like even then like you had to get accepted into like the selling markets and everything, and he got into a few, and then like just looking at what people were selling and making money from, like we were just like, damn, that's some like real bullshit, man. Like people are making quick thousands of dollars for photo collages, like just going on Google Images and putting whatever they see into one picture and calling it art, like really. And like my brother really saw it as an opportunity to be like, you know, like I could actually make some dope shit and maybe that would sell, you know.
Yeah.
So like that's where we were kind of there, and we were gonna start like investing our time in that, and then kind of blew up out of nowhere. So we'll see if we kind of make any NFTs in the future. Still kind of like an open idea to it, but definitely a lot of controversy around it in many different ways, as far as like the art aspect of it and the whole economy thing. Or not the economy of the whole nature. I don't know if you heard like what it does to the ecology and stuff like that.
Oh, like the
economy, like
like the.
Oh man,
I think like the pollution,
like
the energy consumption.
Yeah,
really?
There's a whole bunch of controversy around that. Yes, thank you. That's what I meant to say.
So, from my understanding, it comes down to, so in order for the blockchain to run, it needs like computers all kind of working in conjunction with each other, right? But these computers need to meet specific standards and kind of energy consumption with these like high-end standards. And as a result, like when people have like insane mining setups, mining is like what people is basically like, think of like a server room, you know what I mean? Like if you see like in movies where like you see the person kind of run into like a spot and there's just a bunch of fucking wires everywhere and like they're all plugged into the wall, that, think of like a room like that, all working, just basically mining, trying to run the system, and at the same time trying to like solve problems to get more as a reward of like the specific
So does this have to do with Bitcoin? Like, is it like Bitcoin mining? And is it basically
Bitcoin,
saying that the energy that it takes
yeah,
for all of these people that are going to be Bitcoin or programs and shit
Bitcoin.
that are Bitcoin mining is going to be a lot the same way like with bots and shoe shit, but except that that's going to be like basically so much, the takeover of it is going to be so big that that'll be a lot of energy is what they're saying?
So yes, that is like the biggest concern with Bitcoin specifically right now is like, or not, I don't know if it's the biggest, but it's one of the biggest concern with Bitcoin is like
they need to make
energy consumption.
Bitcoins.
They just need to what they need to do is all right, if we're talking on that issue specifically, I think the wider issue is people are like focusing on like, yes, it's a lot of energy consumption, but it would just be fixed if we could all switch like our power grids to better, more sustainable energy sources like solar, like wind, like water, you know what I mean? Trying to abandon the fossil fuels. It's just gonna
push us, I guess, in a sense, to only be able to do that because it'll be us using energy at a higher rate, so we're gonna have to use a cleaner source of energy essentially is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Energy.
Like there's a simple solution that would help like the grander scheme of things, but people focus on Bitcoin and like blockchain mining, like so specifically that they like, I feel like they get clouded to that. They're trying too hard to find a negative in it. And whilst it is a negative, it's like one of those things where like there's so many other industries that exist out there that are doing so much worse to energy, like to the quote unquote like you know, energy consumption and the pollution that comes from it, that they negate that completely with that argument. They're like, oh no, but this is bad. Point being that like there is a solution to that. If
they kind of bypass the whole clean energy solution, like
they're just like exactly, you know what I mean? They're like, oh, if people that are Bitcoin mining aren't doing it specifically like clean energy, then like they're bad. It's like, well, are we making that same like assumption with every other company that exists out there? I don't think so. But beyond that, when it comes to NFTs, they run on the Ethereum network more often than not. There's a bunch of networks, a bunch of blockchains that are popping up like damn near daily, and there's ones that have been around for years as well that are like good competitors for it, but that are trying to solve that problem. Or like Ethereum currently runs on the same principle as Bitcoin in that sense, where it uses a lot of mining, but now in like the next couple months, I mean, I don't know when this pod is going to come out, so I don't know like the time frame from it, but like within from my understanding, like the next like 6 months to like a year, there should be like a big switch, the full switch within Ethereum to go from proof of work to proof of stake. And what that is going to do essentially is alleviate a lot of the problems in the mining, because it's gonna no more mining. It's gonna be basically it's gonna run itself based on who has it and like you holding it. If you hold Ethereum in a specific thing, then it'll use your Ethereum to run itself, as opposed to trying to reward like the miners for it. It's kind of like a deeper topic that I don't know, that I don't think I'd be equipped to like better like explain, I think. But with it will alleviate that problem of the energy consumption issue with it. So going forward, within the next like 6 months to a year, that's gonna be like a thing of the past that people are going to be considering with Ethereum. And that's why like I'm a super huge believer in Ethereum, like just Ethereum. Cause that's like NFTs are just like one base level of it, but like there's so much stuff that like that is potential for
Ethereum that. Ethereum is like, you don't gotta get to it. What's like the mini explanation of Ethereum?
Ethereum is another blockchain that was meant for,
like if I was listening to this and I could just understand it really quickly,
it's like meant to it's more meant surrounding like the smart contract concept of blockchain, and like the idea of something, and which is like the whole NFT concept of like once something exists on there, it exists permanently and everyone can see what is on there, right? And like also there's a capability within the Ethereum network to kind of utilize that in so many different ways.
Utilize what? Just real quick, because you said a lot of words.
So the idea,
there's a capability within the Ethereum network to utilize.
From my understanding, Ethereum is like the idea of putting something on the ledger, right? Putting something on there so that everyone can see who owns something specifically.
Oh, okay.
Like that can be best utilized through the Ethereum network
So it's kind of like DistroKid versus what's the other shit, TuneCore, where like DistroKid, come hear me out though. I know it's gonna be very far off example, but just the only part I'm thinking that's similar is that you can easily distribute your rights better through DistroKid with everybody else, like because you can see where for like, but with this shit it's basically saying like it's more connected wise, like you can see what everyone's holding and shit on Ethereum, like so it's centralized.
You can do that with Bitcoin as well, but so the big thing about Ethereum is that it gives the ability for people to use it in like other manners other than just holding, because Bitcoin is the best description of it is like a storage of value.
It gives you, other than just holding it, you could sell and trade and do shit all through the Ethereum.
You can do that the same way as you can with Bitcoin, but it's like the way I like to describe it.
So the difference is,
so like Bitcoin, the big comparison with it is like gold, right? They say it's like the digital gold because it holds value. It's a store of value. You know what I mean? And whilst that, if you look at it in that sense, I think of Ethereum as like steel, like something, or almost like wood. Like it's something that, it's a resource that was used for so much more other shit. Like gold, think of it as like, pretend like.
Okay, that's fine. That's good.
You know what I mean? That's the best way to think of it.
That's
like
good. That was a simpler example than all the shit you said.
Yeah.
Bitcoin is like gold. You feel me? Ethereum is like wood. You could use it for a lot of different shit. You could build a house with some wood.
Exactly.
I mean, gold is worth a lot, but you can't feasibly do too much shit with gold.
Best way to describe it.
Yep.
You know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, so as a result, like NFTs, I think are something that are like super interesting to watch. How they're gonna grow in the future. And like in this,
you gonna go finish?
In this is a little tidbit of knowledge like that I just found out like a couple days ago. But in this last month, I believe NFTs made more money, even though like the talk about it has gone down significantly. Like damn near no one is talking about NFTs as much as they were like 3 or 4 months ago. You know what I mean? Like it's a whole different conversation about it now. But having said that, silently, this past month has been the highest grossing month for NFTs across the board. So like whilst people are being quiet about it, like the market is moving significantly. And what it's saying with that is that like this shit's gonna explode.
Yeah.
Like this shit's gonna explode. So it's gonna be really interesting to watch what happens.
I was gonna bring up speaking of collectibles and shit like that, before we get into the life affirmations section, I was going to talk about sneakers. Because I didn't write that down like on the thing, but I did realize that, you know, like you worked selling sneakers and shoes and all the gear and shit like that. And like, I knew you always been into kicks and shit like that. And I was like, that's something we often talk about. But it's interesting to look at the parallel between like the NFTs and the collectibles and the idea of like sneaks and their popularity and shit like that. Like I love talking about that with people that at least kind of know about it and getting their kind of opinion on like what do they think about those kind of investments, like in certain shoes and shit like that, and how did they pan out and shit like that. Because I feel like that is a lot of people's, the same way with NFTs, a lot of people are very like curious and don't know a lot about that kind of shit. Like they feel very like doubtful when they think like, damn, am I gonna get a return? Like would I even be able to flip that? You know what I mean? Like do these even go up after I buy? You know what I mean? Like a lot of people, that's how they feel like when they just get the initial like until they, you know. So I like to ask people like, what's the real on that?
Nah, yeah. So the sneaker market, man, this shit's crazy, bro. Especially this is something recent. This is something that really blew up probably like beginning of quarantine, where you weren't able to find like retro Jordans anymore. Like where that's just any retro Jordan started selling out left and right. And I feel like people, as I said, took like the quarantine as an opportunity to be like, yo, like let's start making some money. We could probably hoard these shoes. They have a lot of demand, and most of this demand is out in China. So China is a really big like Nike fiends. Like they're all about Nike out there. So in fact, at the store I work at, a lot of our resellers are from China. They go in there and they host live auctions and everything, and they sell to their buyers overseas. And bro, they be getting anything. It doesn't even matter how hype of a shoe it has to be. They still be selling it for good profit margins. But when
it's crazy though, like because like a few episodes I've talked about that with other homies, because during that time I had a plug from China, like a shoe plug. You know what I'm saying? And I've never had a shoe plug from China, and it was the best shoe plug I've ever had, bro. Like literally anything that was like I thought you just couldn't get was able to get, and it was only like $320. You know what I'm saying, for like some burnt shit, like two, like feel me, like a high two for like shit that's like, and I'm saying like that's what I be asking people, like, do they really get up to 1,000 or something, like how they are, like how they be selling them? Because, and that's what I'm saying. I know that's true because, like you said, that whole thing happened where it was like there was somewhat of a drought with them, and even the popularity of this shit was crazy because, say like these one shoes I got, for example, I looked this shit up when I got them, these purple lobsters, because I got them and I was like, all right, like damn, these are sick, like let me find out like about them and shit like that. And then when I looked, the homie was telling me, he was like, you didn't even know how sick they actually were. Like in 2018, this shit wasn't really popping no more
at all.
And then it was like these shoes dropped, and then people started back collecting shoes and shit again. And then I was like, oh shit, like, but that was in 2018. So from that period of time to like 2020, when all the shoes kind of like disappeared and shit, the price of kicks went from like regular to up, like so, everything went up.
Like what I was talking about is definitely like the bottom scale of it, like the other side of the whole reselling market. But when it comes to those hype shoes, when it comes to those Travis Scotts and like the purple lobsters you're talking about, like as you said, that is a more recent thing. The purple lobsters, people kind of can date that as kind of the revival of the SB Dunk. And because it was just such a sick drop, I know it was a collaboration. I think it was with Concept. So that brought a new attention, like more attention towards the silhouette of the shoe. But it's not until Travis Scott really came into the scene and made his mark.
His shit kind of upped the market. Like,
it did,
I realized
completely.
I realized that quick. I was like, oh shit.
And he did two different shoes that he upped the market, which are the Jordan highs and or Jordan 1s in general, the highs and lows that he'd be working on. And the dunks, he really repopularized the dunk just through Instagram, just through wearing them on his feed. These shoes, you would be able to find them at Ross and like clearance stores for like $40 a pop. And then the next day they're going for $600 to $1,200.
It was real life, bro. Like I feel like
literally one day to another.
I feel like I wouldn't have been in the sneaks if it wasn't like for that. Cause I was in the sneaks when I was in middle school and shit, like when the jerking era was popping. But like I also was like I was skating and shit, so I always wanted SBs. Like I was like, oh, I'm gonna get some SBs. Like tell me, like they look comfortable to skating and shit. Like I thought that was really like the science behind them. Like cause you thinking of basketball shoes and shit, it's like they make ball shoes for ball. I'm like these are Nike skateboarding shoes. Like all right, like I need to get some. But essentially, like at that point in time, it was kind of easier to pull up to the skate store and get like different crazy ones that were dropping and shit like that. So I didn't even know, because I feel like I took a break on collecting shoes, like probably all the way until fucking like shit, I think when I got those, I had got some SBs, like you said, from like a thrift store, maybe in like 2018.
Yeah, that's probably the last
I had got like some at like a thrift store that were like used for like $20. But then that was for real, like when I was first trying to look for some shoes again, because I was like, all right, I haven't had no kicks in a minute. But then I was like, kicks started going up at that time, so I was like, nah, I'm straight until I found like a plug on them. And then I was like, all right, I knew at that point in time though which ones I wanted, because it had gotten so hype and shit right now where I'm like, all right, I already know this isn't gonna last. Like I'm looking at it like, I know how much these shoes are, like whatever the price this is, like he's not always gonna have them for this price, or he's not always gonna be able to get them. Like I might as well right now strike hot and see if I could fucking get them, because because I see online all the time, like I guess that's my question, is like I see online all the time these the Travis Scotts for like $1,500, $2,000. What is the possibility of someone flipping those? Are they all new, or is it like how much do you think people really out here paying for them? Like do they really be paying them for them?
Bro, people be paying them like that, dog.
I think
like
so,
I got a homie that works at a resale shop up in Antelope Valley, and that's the shit they have, that's the shit they sell. And the day of, they'll
Hey,
post
shout out
like,
to those Sus. I think I met them at work one time.
oh yeah, nah, they're a dope store. I love them. It's
Because I've seen the like the Instagram or some shit, and then one time I was at work, and then these Sus are like, I think they didn't have their ID or some shit, and they were posted there, but they had like some strange loves on and some crazy shit.
Nah, exactly.
And I was like, yo, where'd y'all get this from? They was like, I work at a sneaker store.
Them dripped out, bro.
In
Like
the AV,
at the
like,
AV,
oh, yeah.
sneakerhead AV. Like
Shout out to them.
Yeah, shout out to them for real. They literally day of, they'll be getting their shoes and like selling them on the Instagram comments. Like, oh, hold those for me. I'm on my way. You know. And like, yeah, speaking of strange loves, like that's something I got in my collection, and I hit on sneakers, you know, like it's crazy how these shoes are viewed as stock, because like that's $100 investment to like, what, I think they're going for like $1,200 now, you see?
Yeah, bro, it's crazy.
And for what? Doing what? You just wake up in the morning, press a button, see if you hit. So like,
so I feel like that's almost the same shit as like the risk you taking when you doing a stock or some shit. Like, all you had to do is wake up and put the money in there,
but
and then you had it. You know what I mean? And you might have not got it. That's the risk you took. Like some fool. But what, like you saying, what do you really lose? But someone else got the kicks.
That someone else got them. But the thing with shoes is that you're guaranteed you're making money. You're not gambling your money. There's not a possibility you're gonna lose it.
Especially
guess
if you're
what?
getting the right kicks, because you can't get them again. Like the way they set it up now is that like it's not achievable for you to just walk in the store and cop that.
And
pair.
cop them, exactly. So regardless,
had right kicks though.
Yeah, no, but it doesn't even matter if it's the right kicks, because Nike's return policy, you can return them, bro. Like, so even if you do even if you do pay money on a shoe you think is gonna hit, and then like you see, these ain't selling too hot, you just go and return them. Like, you ain't losing any money. It's a no, like, it's a, yeah. So that's why it's crazy, like the whole sneaker game right now, and how the whole market is working, because there's no losing pretty much.
So my question is, with that, and I respect that, is there a point where, I mean, there has to be like a point where it tops out the price, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's only, because when you're saying the argument of like, you see these shoes go out for $1,500, $2,000, you know what I mean? Like, if they're on sale at the moment for that means that like they're not selling instantly for that price, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, they drop them retail, so it's like hella lower.
Yeah, so, you know what I mean, it fluctuates. Like, it'll definitely run up really high, but then also like if you miss that high, like say you bought in at fucking, it's like same thing as the stock, you know what I mean? Like, say you're seeing like some shoes come out, they're getting hot, so you buy them, trying to resell them, but next week that artist did some dumb shit, and like now like
the price of Travis's went down.
Yeah,
that'd be crazy.
You know what I mean? Or maybe not Travis.
That would be a sad day. I woke up and then Travis's were like $5.
Like,
They're like, yo, bro, the McDonald's meal's trash.
But like, even in the sense of like, it could lose, like if you're buying above retail, because the right now, and I get it, because like I agree, if you buy it straight off retail, off getting like those giveaways, there is no loss. You know what I mean? If you're buying it directly from the store, but if you're buying it off like another reseller, then there's the potential of like also your timing within it and your ability to sell it, because it's interesting, because I'm curious as to like how they top out, and then like also like, and I think you guys answered it a little bit, because my other question was going to be like, what pushes the popularity in these shoes sometimes, because I feel like, and this is just my point of it, is that sometimes you walk into a shoe store and like it can seem a little bit oversaturated in certain aspects, because you know that what's in the store is maybe like 1/1000th of what's available, you know what I mean?
It used to not even be like that, bro, which is whack. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know exactly what you mean. Like, when you walk in, it almost looks like they're just showing you like a corner of the shit that's actually dope.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And it's like, damn, this place is packed with shoes left and right, but like even then, you know that every shoe has a color option, or has like, you know, maybe some styling differentiation with it nowadays, and there's like,
we could order those.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
That's
you might walk in the ones you want, and they're just like, yeah, we could order them.
Exactly.
The thing with Nike though is that it drives purely off exclusivity.
Scarcity and exclusivity.
So scarcity and exclusivity is what drives the hype. That, oh my God, there's only 2,000 of these made. Holy shit. On top of that is like, true sneakerheads will pay whatever it is, like if they truly want the shoe.
Yeah.
There's a huge market out in Dubai that's full of Dubai princes that are fully like hype beasts. They love Jordans, they love all that, and they will pay whatever it takes to get the shoe they need. So that's why that market won't die when it comes to those certain shoes, when it comes to those super hyped shoes.
That's when I'm gonna sell my purple lobsters. I'm telling you, I'm gonna
like
have
that.
like a weird ass vacation, and some fools gonna be like, "I'll give you $3,000 for this shit right now."
Yeah, right now.
And
Yeah,
I'm gonna be
exactly.
like, you know what? That might be worth it. Like at the most, cause low-key, I like wearing shoes. That's my thing. Is like,
yeah, same here.
I'm interested in the
absolutely.
business, but like I really love wearing them. Like I've always loved like wearing. I've even loved getting my shits a little dirty. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I like. So it's kind of always been hard for me to like buy in all the way. Only for that reason, just because I'm like, fuck, like I don't even know if I would resell some of the shit I'm wearing. But then sometimes, but as I got those ones, like the doper ones, I was like, all right, like these, I gotta be a little more like. Treat them a little better.
Treat them better, absolutely.
Yeah, because I was like, I see how they're going. I'm like, damn, these shits really cost fucking, like, they're not going down. Like, I thought, like, maybe in a few years, like, the hype would die down and the sneakers would go back to a regular price. And that's what I'm saying. Like, all my life being a sneakerhead, that's unfortunately not the way it went.
No, yeah.
A question for you then.
What's up?
Do you believe more in, like, for, like, the sneakerhead, do you believe more in, like, the buy and hold of like getting just dope sneakers and holding them for a long ass time, maybe like 30-40 years, and then flipping them? Or are you more, do you see
like
more so like
wear and then flip when the opportunity
the wear and
presents
flip,
itself?
or even just like not even just wear and flip, but just like the flip, like to get it and then instantly flip it, you know what I mean? Like, and kind of building it off of that, like.
So for a lot of patterns, for a lot of shoes, is a lot of times the top price point that they'll sell for is immediately before or right after the shoe drops, because that's when the most hype is. Then that's whether you'll see if the shoe goes down in price or up in price. That can take whether months or years to see whether like that final outcome of the shoe is. There's some shoes that could stay around the retail price for years, and then one celebrity would wear them and they could almost quadruple in price, you know. There's never like knowing when a shoe can shoot up in price in regards of that.
What is the craziest shoe that you've ever scored on, and what's your favorite shoe?
For sure, but I want to make sure you answer that before we. So with that being said, like, what do you see more? So do you agree more with the idea of like getting shoes to do like the quick flip because it's so unpredictable in the long term, or is it better to get the ones that are super scarce that you feel like you know are gonna be like quote unquote valuable 30 years because you're like, oh no, they only made 30 of these bitches.
Yeah,
like,
no, I
like,
absolutely. I think I wear all my shoes, so I think it's the holding aspect. Honestly, just buying a shoe and either wearing it and keeping it for however long you need to. But there's a lot of shoes that, for example, like the 1985 Jordan 1s that first came out, like those are going for minimum $4,000 probably, but completely beat, you know. Like God knows how much like a dead stock pair is going for, because there's not that many out there. They're probably
Those are the black
in
and red
museums.
ones?
Yeah, the Chicago red ones. Yeah, like the white and red ones. So like the very first ones that came out, and then the breads came out that same year too. So
I'm thinking of the breads.
Yeah, yeah. But it's so dope, like the whole history behind that too. Like it's very in depth. There's like the whole like origins of the sneaker reselling community. It dates back to like the early 90s and stuff like that, even earlier than that.
So I guess
but,
going off his question before I enter my question, I guess kind of which is the same question he asked.
Yeah.
So do you think the hype of the shoe is better essentially, or the scarcity?
Nah,
is more valuable. Like, you know, the hype of the moment where it's like, damn, this shit costs this much right now. You could get it for the low and flip it. This is its high. You know what I mean? Striking while it's hot, or is it the like, nah, like I know this is gonna pop. This shit because there's not that many. Like there's like later on, like once those other fools fuck theirs up, there's only gonna be 3, and one of them's gonna be mine.
Yeah, no, that's definitely. I would go with the scarcity aspect of it. Because a lot of times those shoes are scarce for the reason that the materials are high quality. So like they it's not that they're cheaping out and purposely. Well, on top of the reason they're purposely making it exclusive is because they also don't like want to invest that much money in the materials that goes into it.
Yeah, it's
so,
made
like,
in China and shit.
Yeah, so it is made in China, but the thing with Nike is so many different factories. They use so many different factories for their materials and stuff. So like yeah, when you are paying, let's say like $250 for a premium like Jordan, like, yeah, like you are paying a higher price point at that, but you are promised like a better quality in the long run, and that to sneakerheads and that to like the sneaker market, that lasts longer. So that's why in the long run those shoes end up going for a lot more money, and on top of the fact that they're pretty scarce. And if especially finding like a brand new pair, like that's where it gets harder, because the longer a shoe's been out, the longer or the harder it is to find like a dead stock pair.
Interesting.
So before we get to life affirmations,
Yeah.
though, I gotta know, bro, what's your
question,
favorite kicks? And then what's the ones, like the most craziest ones you like ever, you know, scored on, where it was just like, damn, I couldn't believe I copped these.
No, for sure. I got my favorite kicks for sure. It's hard to choose, man. Honestly, like my closet is like a lot of the grails that I've been like trying to like work towards. But one pair I catch myself wearing a lot are these, actually. Like these came out this year. These are the I'm on my near threes. And then I also have a pair of like these 2014 like Valentine's Day Dunks that I got that are pretty dope. But as far as like the craziest shoe I've hit are the Strange Loves, like on sneakers. Yeah, because just nobody hits on that app. So it's like every time I wake up and go on there, I have no expectations like to win. And that shoe's a shoe I wanted a lot, you know, like I was like manifesting that shit.
That's the shoe that got me to hit up the other shoe plug, because the homie Sweets had them from like the same person that I got them from. And I didn't really, because I've never really picked up shoes off other people like that. But then once he had those, I was like, nah, because you know, I'm a sneaker. I'm like, if you can get those, you can get the ones I want. You feel me? Because those are hard to get, bro. Yeah, so I was like, you know, I was kind of just on some like, all right, like, and then it worked a few times. I got a few of my favorite joints.
No, but honestly, like, I've been blessed on that app. Like, luckily a lot of people don't, but like,
I need to tap
who
in
knows?
Even the homie Tober told me a few times that he hit on there, and I was like, damn, people really just do wake up and actually get shit for retail.
And that's all it takes, really. Like, of course, you're not gonna hit probably for months, but like, bro, all it takes is just that one time you wake up, sign up, and then you get that notification that you hit. And like a lot of the times, bro, you're doubling or tripling your money. Like, so even if you don't want the shoe, bro,
even if I would have flipped mines,
you're making a check.
Like if I would have flipped mines, bro, it still would have been more than what I would have paid if I would have hit on some of those from sneakers. It would have been less than what they resell for. It would have been, but you know what I'm saying? Like I would have already been starting from like 160 only spent. So like my flip on it is easy money.
The margin's a lot.
Yeah, it's higher. Like versus like
My question with it was, Indies give like, because like it's a sweepstake, right? From my understanding, because I've seen like a couple from different things, but it's like it's a raffle, right? Like
it's pretty much a raffle, yeah.
In it, is it limited to one shoe per?
Yeah, per account. So like, of course, like people try to finesse it by having multiple devices, but there's no way of like going on the computer and botting like 100 different accounts. Like their anti-bot measures are pretty good, but people still finesse it, you know, like. I've seen videos of like entire rooms full of phones and like linked up to machinery where like it'll all enter the raffle at the same time. But
because that's some real shit. Like, because that's when it comes to like resale and stuff like that in an online market, like that's just like the biggest issue in my opinion is like you see bots everywhere, and like they'll more often than not beat out people that comes to like the queue waiting or like the raffles or whatever, because they just spam so many and like the numbers are in their favor to an extent, and it's like it's fucked up. It's crazy because, you know what I mean, it's so hard for like in some aspects to even cop certain things, like, and so I was curious to see like just what the limitations were in it. And like you mentioned there's measures against it, but people still do finesse, and like the fact that it's still finessable is like some rough shit, dude, because you know what I mean, that really like, because you say like you'll get like one hit like every couple months, you know what I mean, maybe like
because when you're not botting, you're just not botting.
And that's the thing. Like, yeah, Nike has good measures against their bots, but Nike isn't the only source of them selling shoes. There's Shoe Palace, there's Foot Locker. Like, there's still the retail stores are still getting these shoes too, but those are the websites that get botted to shit. Crazy, like probably 98% of stock goes to bots. I know recently with one of the Travis Scott shoes,
the Fragment probably.
Yeah, the Fragments. There's I think over 7 million botted entries like millions, man. And then like people with bots were posting success rates. Like one dude got like 700 pairs, and it's like, wow, like it's already scarce to begin with, but now like imagine like now like
those are
these
hard
dudes
too,
are
though,
getting
bro.
like hundreds of pairs. Like you gotta be shitting me at that point. So that's what adds to the hype, because you are against all odds when it comes to winning a shoe and buying a shoe. So yeah,
That's interesting.
What do you
it's
think
very.
I mean, I want to get into life affirmations, but damn, I just thought of some shit. Like, what do you think of family and friends pairs? Like,
Oh yeah.
I feel like that's like a new thing I'm seeing, and I'm digging it, because
What do
like
you
they
mean?
be hard as fuck. I just wish that they were more. It's kind of annoying though that the dark side of the family and friends pairs is that they're less accessible, which makes them more scarce, which makes them, you know what I mean,
Yeah,
at a higher
more
price
high.
point. And
What do you mean? What is this?
so basically, people like that are designing the shoes and shit, like Travis, or say like Steven Parra, who did like the Parra shit,
Yeah,
that
the
those, where there was like a family and friends pair where it's like a different design, and then he shoots them to like people he personally fucks with and shit. But then because it's a shoe, like they still be out, you know what I'm saying? So then like someone will resell them, you know what I mean? So you still get to see like the price, but naturally because it's made for a family and friends pair already, it's already like a uncrazyable price range, because it never released. A lot of them didn't have no official release.
That's
And
interesting.
another one has a Travis Scott's, like with those purple fours.
Oh, the
bro.
purple fours.
Those
yeah.
fucking
Oh my god.
blew my
Yeah,
mind, bro. I'm like, I want those so,
hard,
bad,
man.
bro. But it's
Yeah.
like, you know that they were really dropped. Like they really weren't dropped. Like he literally just, it was damn near on some favor shit where it's
Yeah.
like, I'm making this shoe, like I'm gonna make one like a select amount for just the homies of the color I want.
No, I think it's super sick.
That's ill, bro.
I love that concept 100%. Like that's something that I would love to do like in the future.
Yeah.
But I think that definitely adds to the scarcity. And I feel like that's
You know what I'm
I
saying?
feel like, but with that though, like it's interesting when you get into that conversation, because then it
It's
always
like you making some hard ass shit that no one could get though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
who's it really for?
you would think no one could get it up until it hits the resale market.
Exactly.
And
then
where this, because what you said, like, what are your thoughts on this? My thoughts on it is like, and this is just on like some other shit, where it's just like
Yeah.
when you give the idea of like giving a gift to someone and then they go and like they resell it, or they go and re-gift it to someone, like, you know what I mean? Think of it in like a Christmas aspect or like a birthday aspect of like you giving something to someone, like, and then being like, oh cool, thanks, but like I don't really need it, I don't want it, just fucking flip it for the bands. And like I get it, because like
Because that goes on,
'Cause
like there's re-gifting
exactly.
and shit.
Like,
Like I ain't
that's a
gonna draw the
thing.
line here. Like damn. But
exactly, you know what I mean?
I also get the whole other side of like,
The
damn,
sentiment
like
of it.
this was made like one of 30 for you. You're one of the
Yeah.
30. Like
Yeah,
and
I
you
made
gave
this
this
for
shit
you.
away. Like
Like fuck a 1 of 30. What if it's like a 1 of 1
1
or like a
yeah.
1, you know what I mean? Like in those situations where it's like, you know what I mean? Like it's like, whoa, this is hard, the hardest thing you probably have in a collection for some people, and they're like, oh, I want that, I'll pay the biggest of bands. And that's what
Yeah.
inspires people to be like, all right, like, you know what, I'm done on my look today, I'll flip it. Or they're just like, you know what, like I don't even really fuck with this that much, like I don't wear shoes, like thanks, but like you ever see me and like
exactly. Like that could easily happen.
You know
Where
what I
you
mean?
easily give a pair to someone who's like, bro, I've never had a pair of 4s in my life. Like, they're just like I
Yeah.
literally, and like
Yeah.
you just the homie, like good looks. You know?
yeah, you know what I mean? They
Homie.
give it down to like their kid or something like that, and then the kid's like, "Oh, cool!
Alright.
I'm gonna flip this for a cool 100K or like 20K
Yeah,
or
like they
whatever."
might look up
like,
how much they actually are worth and be like, oh shit.
Vine Tree Radio.
I think shoes are gonna get even more fucking crazier as they go along, like with the family and friends pairs, because
Oh,
it's gonna be
yeah.
like, because it's really like you could do whatever type of shit, and you can try to outdo yourself essentially, because you already have the main design.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, how could I sauce that design?
Yeah,
up?
nah, exactly. I'm not too sure if you're familiar with the cactus plant flea market Vapor Maxes.
Yes.
The
bro.
friends and family pair of those.
I haven't
it's-
seen that. Shit.
Bruh, it's the same exact thing, but it lights up like a sketcher, and you gotta charge it.
Sheesh.
But that shit is so hard,
'Cause
man.
I've seen
Yeah,
the way
like-
they look. Like they look like they have like little gel on them on the
yeah,
outside
on the
for
outside,
Nike,
on the
like
swoosh
the
and
puffy
everything.
paint
They're
gel.
wild shoes.
Interesting.
But that's like how it is though, and they're like runners, kind of like
Yeah. And it's
But
like,
damn, I didn't even know they made a family and friends chairs
yeah,
of that.
and that one they only made like I think like 250 pairs, like something mad limited. But you gotta charge them and everything. They look like Skechers when you're like walking around, but they're hard. They're dope.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I guess fucking we'll get into the life affirmations and shit.
To that part of the.
Yeah, especially get into that part of the time. But you know what I mean. This is something we do every pod. We go around, say some things we look at differently now from the last 2 weeks or week or month or whatever, you know. Like, it doesn't really matter the amount of time. It's more so about like something you used to look at this way and now I look at it this way. Sometimes I do a lot of thinking on it beforehand, sometimes I don't. Kind of depends on like how much the pods are happening, because sometimes we've done it like back to back to back and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna think of something new right now. But lately I guess I've had more time to think about it because we haven't done a lot of pods. So I think for me, the thing I'm going to talk about that I look at differently than I looked at, you know what I'm saying, now, I feel like it has to do a lot with personality and like maybe just like the idea about different personality types. And kind of like, well, I guess at one point in time in my life I used to think that like maybe like I got along with a lot of different personality types, and I thought that was kind of just the way of the world. Like, you may be on some bullshit if like there's a, you know what I'm saying, unless somebody else is starting it, why you couldn't get along with other personality types. But as I've kind of maybe the past couple months or so, I've realized just the certain emphasis in how certain personality types don't mix, and like what can go wrong when those shits like collide and whatnot. Like, you know what I mean? I guess I've been very mindful of that in the past months as of late, maybe because I've been in like a new job and been around a lot of different people and been around different personality types in general. Like, it's been more of like being outside, I guess, the past few months versus the past couple months before that. So I think within that, I've just noticed that like, one, like, everyone is not fucking nice. Like, that's a lot of information I've had that like you know, you could be nice to everybody and like everyone's just like not gonna be nice. Like, I guess that's just some shit that goes on in the world. And then on top of that is more so that getting deeper into thinking like you damn near have to be so firmed up in yourself that like really none of the alternating of these personality types really could kind of like phase you. But at the same time, you know what I'm saying, it's almost a duality of being like, well, maybe sometimes I'm mindful of that and I'm like, all right, like, yeah, like this type of person, the way they are, you get along with them. But this other type of person, you could get along with them, but they probably won't get along with each other. See what I'm saying? Like, I think that the formula within that I've been kind of trying to figure out is that you have to be you enough within all of these situations, but at the same time, that may be the answer for you to maneuver within all these situations. Sometimes people being them enough makes them not be able to maneuver in certain situations. Like, I've learned that by other people, just kind of just maybe just like almost reflecting on like the signs and shit, which we don't have to say it's true or not, because me and this will always argue like he doesn't believe that shit has anything to do with anything. So I've been kind of avoiding that in what I'm saying. But as of the last couple of years, maybe I have paid attention to that shit more and thinking about how that relates to different people's quote unquote personality types or whatever. I feel like that shit I've just been real mindful of that going into. So say even if that shit isn't real, whatever the traits that they say are, I've been paying attention to the people that do have them, and then seeing how that those people interact with other people that have these quote unquote other traits. So even if that shit isn't real at all, whatever the fuck these people have that they say is in these categories, I'm seeing how they don't mix and shit. And I've been a lot mindful of that this year. That's like, there's certain intrinsic choices, kind of like going to the original conversation that we were having, that people make about themselves that really determine like their path. And it shows when they bump with other people that have kind of made those determinations on their different path. But some weird shit I've been thinking about.
That's some deep shit, but not low-key, that's something that I feel like I've been thinking about a lot lately as well. And
Yeah.
just, it's one of those things where you're constantly, I don't want to say struggling, but fighting with the fact of like, well, how much do you want to, like you said, authentically be yourself in some instances, because you feel like, is everyone else being authentic in that moment? And like, if they are, like what does that mean? And then it's like you start to overanalyze like the signs of like, you know how you're saying like the behaviors of like how they clash with other behaviors, and it's like it's some deep shit, and it's a big part of just being exposed to the world, like being exposed to seeing all these different personality types and all these different everyone that's in the world. It's really,
Even on my people watch it.
Yeah, nah, it's wild you bring that up, man, because like when you gave me that like topic to kind of like think about it, I did think about it, and I was gonna say exactly that, bro. I was literally gonna emphasize connections, like connecting with people, and how like important that is to get that reciprocated energy in order for things to flow smoothly, you know. But even if that can't happen, it doesn't necessarily mean that the other person is negative or bad. It's just you don't vibe, you don't fuck with the energy isn't there. So and that's completely fine. It's natural. But yeah, no, like I came in thinking that, bro, definitely. But
that's some deep shit, because
yeah,
energy is
shit,
some real shit,
sure.
man. Like I do believe in like the idea of like the aura, or like, you know, I mean, I don't believe deeply enough for like the sense of like, I mean, maybe fuck it, some people can see the color, and like, who am I to deny what they can and can't do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, I do believe in the idea that we radiate energy, and we, based off like our we like who we are, like our emotions, our everything that encapsulates us. Like, think of it like the sun or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Uh-huh.
we're giving off something. We're giving off like some sort of power, and it's like that energy, like you're saying, like it can vibe with someone or it can't vibe with someone.
And yeah, I think that energy is most present when somebody's being their true self, when they're being genuine. That's when it's most picked up on. And even relating it to music and art, like when I could tell like, oh, this artist is genuine, not only a genuine person, but the craft they're making comes from their heart. Like, I feel that, like I understand that on a different level, and I think it all relates to that, just being genuine and having those type of connections, for sure.
100. I think that's kind of just a little bit of what I was realizing about a lot of different people, and how like maybe the shit that, in short, like sometimes the shit that maybe like triggers you about a particular personality type is literally what makes them them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's literally like, when I be tripping, I'm like, damn, like that's how you breathe. Like, you know what I mean? Like that thing, and I'm like, that thing is like what makes me like fucking scoff, like, you know. But I feel like it happens like that in the world, like where it's just like, you know what I mean? Like, people's determinations about who the fuck they are sometimes run into someone else's determination who the fuck they are, and for some reason they got your personality type ingrained within their shit as like a red flag or some shit, you know what I mean? Like some shit that's like just deters it, you know?
Interesting. I can see that. And it's funny because you said like it exists in the world, and I was gonna say that like the thing about it, like even when, because I was saying like, you know, the energy is like you either can vibe with someone or you can't vibe with someone. But even within that, it's interesting because like, also, as much as I believe in energy, I also believe in balance. Like I believe that there's like harmony in the world, and I believe that there's like a certain mix to it. And so like with it, I also understand like
That's supposed to happen.
It's supposed to happen. There's supposed to be
that shows you more of who you are too.
Exactly.
Like it shows you that, damn, I'm bothered by this, so I should probably like know that this is me. Like I'm someone that when this type of, you know what I mean, like when I come across this type of shit, it bothered me in this way.
Exactly. Like it comes up kind of to that argument of like being surrounded by like yes men, or people that like challenge you, or like.
But what happens once you know though?
What do you mean?
Like once you make that determination though, because sometimes like you don't want to be always surrounded by yes men, obviously, but like what happens when you know, like, oh damn, I don't fuck with this? Like, should you still be around to still be trying to find those more moments? I guess that's the determination we always get into. Like I'm just saying, like, you know, in general.
Yeah. I feel like that's an interesting way to look at it. It comes down to, because like personally, I believe that it's always about trying to stick with it and continuously challenge yourself, because when, like personally, like every time I get, but this is my argument with like the complacency, you like
that's
the
what
whole
I'm saying. It's the same
like,
thing,
you know,
yeah.
like,
And that's all I just saying is like, it's just scary on the other end, like, you know. So, but I get
My thing
that
with it
makes
is
sense.
that's why I really try, like, I love hearing people that have really differing opinions from me, like whether it be in anything, because it gives me a really good insight as to the other perspective to it. I love, like, the idea of quote unquote walking other people's shoes, or like trying to see things from their eyes, because it really is some shit. Like, if you find someone who's really adamantly passionate about whatever it is that they believe, and they give you their whole spiel, like, you really get the sense of like why this person believes what they believe, and then it's on you to, and like with anything in life, is to make a decision. Do you agree with that person, or do you disagree? Like, just because you hear someone out doesn't mean that you have to necessarily agree with them. It's just the point of, now you get to either reassure your own position of it and be like, nah, I definitely don't agree with that, because like I heard why you believe it so strongly, and like I just don't agree with why you believe it so strongly, so as a result I just won't believe that. Or you can be convinced into it, and they're like, you know what, that was a damn good argument, and like now as a result I see where you're coming with it, and like
essentially the constant challenges reaffirm it, which is important. You feel me? Like, your constant challenges everybody face reaffirm, you know, the shit that either reaffirm or, you know, reevaluate the shit that
basically the idea of this of this segment, right? I guess, like, what are we thinking about, and like what are we like reflecting on? But it's true, like everyone's always constantly reaffirming and like making those decisions of like what is and isn't the right move. But with that, in the harmony sense, I mean, like, I think that trend, let me see, because I wrote this down.
You wrote some shit down? Because we was about to get into the close, so you just
because I still have my section that I was going to talk about, and I have like 3 different things that
you have
are
a whole
like,
nother topic? Oh shit.
I didn't talk about my topic yet.
I'm saying, I didn't know we had a whole nother list of topics. I was about to get to the end. Let's wrap into them then. I thought it was almost over.
The last thing that I was going to talk into, I mean, there's so much.
Shit. You didn't talk about your life affirmations is what you're saying.
Yeah.
My bad.
No, you're good. Man, I'm trying to think which of these is the... Because there's so much shit that I'm constantly, like, rethinking about, and, like... I guess this one kind of falls into the idea of the goals stuff, because I've been restructuring my goals and stuff, but then one thing that I wrote down, and this is like something I've been thinking about, is like define favorite. Like, when someone says that this is my favorite thing, like, what does that mean? Like, you know what I mean? Does that mean that that's the thing that when they see it, it just evokes the most most joyful emotion? Is it the thing that they can see most contently in the sense of like repeatability? Is it something that's like, it maybe not necessarily makes me super happy, but it's something that I can have all the time? You know what I mean? And that's what some people define as their favorite, is like, oh, something that I will always want to enjoy, or as something that people are like, oh, I want to enjoy scarcely, because it's like that moment is that moment almost. And so I've been dealing a lot with that, and then just that kind of goes into the goals in the sense of like, what is your, like, the subjectivity of it? Like, what is your ultimately getting to? Like, do you favor more like that unique moment of it, or do you favor more like the regularness of it? Like, do you favor more like the repeatability?
Yeah, repeatability. Like, you kind of get comfortable.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's my only question in that is, are you asking what people think they're saying when they say that, or are you asking just having the thought like, or are you just having the thought like, when people say that, what do they mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like asking them, or is it the question like, what do they intend to mean? Like, when they say that, like, out of those things you listed.
I think it's a mix of both, because I'm pondering it myself in the sense of like wondering when people say like, this is my favorite whatever. It's like, okay, what did you like? It's just something that I've been thinking about more and more of like, what does that mean to you when you say that that's your favorite? You know what I mean? And then it made me think about like the concept of favorite, and like the idea of like, in the concept of favorite, like, where does that branch out to, like wider, but at the core issue, or not core issue, but like the core like affirmation thing that I'm focusing on is like my definition of favorite. Like, what is it that I feel about it, and like, in the sense that like I've been struggling a lot with it, because I feel like initially I would have argued that for me favoritism was like the thing that I could go to the most and be like, oh, this is just like, I'm like, this is my bread and butter, like I can always listen, not even just always go to this, right? And it's like, but then I was like, or is my favorite the things that I look up to in such a high regard that I'm like, oh no, that this is like, when this happens, like this happens, because it's one of those things where like, I think diminishing like, hold up, let me rock for the second, like the idea of like diminishing returns, you know what I mean? Like with joy, when you're doing something, the first time you do it, it's great, but then the next time you do it, and the third time and the fourth time and fifth time, just naturally your body and your mental state towards it is like, you don't feel that same joy and reward of doing it each time more often than not, you know what I mean? It kind of loses its sense. So it's like, with that in mind, does it lean towards like, okay, then the one moment that, or like that, the singular unique stuff is more of like the favorite stuff, or is it like the stuff that's just already been going is the favorite stuff? And that's where I've been kind of like balancing between, and so I've like leaned towards more. It used to be like the stuff that I'd say on the repeatability, like the stuff that was most rocking with, but then I feel like now I'm considering favoritism more in the light of like realizing in myself, and like thinking of when I think of like why do I consider my things favorite things, like I'm like, oh no, I think it's actually because of like those unique moments. So I'm kind of curious to get your thoughts on it.
My only take on it was, you know what I'm saying, I didn't have too much of a deep take on it. My only take was simply that I kind of looked at it just objectively, and I was like, well, I think that we just use the word very loosely in its meaning, so that's why I think those experiences exist, like that you just explained, where it's like, but then do I use it this way? And I was thinking the whole time, like, I think that we're just one of those words where we're very loose in the way we use it, where it's like in its specific meaning, like, yeah, we probably use it in this way and it meant this, but it's not exclusive, where it's like we haven't used it in the other way. And I think that's why we have those experiences with that word like that, because it's one of those words we just as people tend to use hella loosely, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
no. And I feel like that's why, like, for a lot of stuff it's hard to really pinpoint what is your true favorite thing, you know? Because
like, I've never really thought about it like that, like, to be honest, like and to think about it, so I'm thinking of every time I have done it, because I haven't thought about it, it could have been a various one, because I wasn't never really thinking specifically like, oh, this is exactly what it means, or I never took the time to think it, so I probably was hitting all across the board, like, you feel me, like being like, oh, this is my favorite, but not exactly thinking why in the moment. So it could have been my favorite song, and you know what I mean, that I'm listening to right now. It could be my favorite,
exactly,
you know what I mean, in the other sense of like, I'll always go back to this, like, this is my favorite style of, like, it could have been both, you know what I'm saying, like, probably because, but that makes you think like, damn, what do I mean when I say that? And I think when you get to that, it's like, damn, maybe it's just one of those words where a lot of times I don't know what the fuck I mean when I'm saying it. I think I do, but I just don't.
That's some
like, I have an idea,
like,
you know what I mean, like, I have an idea and I go with the idea of what I mean when I'm saying it, but I've never been like cleared it up to be like, oh, it's specifically this.
Yeah, cause that word doesn't have like any sense of time.
Yeah.
Like, you could use it momentarily, or you could use it for like with the question that always stumps me the most, like, oh, what's your favorite song? Like, I can't tell you that. I like that's a lot going on when I get asked
really,
that question.
When I say that, I'm actually answering a different question. I'll answer it, but the question that I'm actually answering, because I'll just assume, and I'm just gonna assume that it's more so like, or at least I'm assuming you mean this, or assume this is what the general consensus of favorite is, but to me is what it is, at least, probably. So it's kind of just selfish to think that everybody thinks about it the same way I would think about it, but I think it's a song that like emotionally touches me the most, like, you know what I'm saying, like when someone asks like, what's my favorite song, it's like, oh, this is that song, like, I listen, like, I have memories attached to about like some, you know what I mean, like, oh, like some real shit, like, that's kind of what I envision as my favorite song, like,
you see, like,
you know what I mean, some shit you go back to where it's like, oh, I used to bump this in 7th grade, I bumped it all the way through high school type shit, like, I, you know what I mean, it was just like my go-to jam in rough times type shit. But I'm answering that question. Like, what was your go-through jam? Really, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not really asking like what's my favorite song, but I just assume like that's what people think of as your favorite song. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I just kind of answer it that way.
Cause like when I get asked that question, I kind of break it down different ways. Like as you said, like I'll break it in like, oh, what's the song that I have the most memories to? Or then I'll start thinking, or what's the song that I personally think is the most well crafted, like all around production, lyrics, and all that. And it's just so many subcategories that like that one question kind of creates, and it makes me realize like, no, I can't pinpoint, like I can't answer that question.
This is beautiful. I'm just thinking about this right now, because I agree. I'm in the same vein, like with all both of you guys. Like when you think about it, there's just so many variables in this, like the time, what are you considering the production? Are you considering the outside, the impact? Are you considering influence? Are you considering your personal impact? And like
we usually just assume one.
Exactly, we assume one. And it's interesting because we assume one, but everyone assumes one that's like slightly different than each other's. I feel like, because like when I ask this question, usually when I ask it back to like when someone asks me like, oh, what's your favorite movie, or what's your favorite song, or favorite artist, or favorite anything, I'm like, I literally tell them like, I have no idea. I can give you like my usually like top 10, top 5 at the moment that I'm like thinking. If you give me like someone, I'll be like, all right, I can maybe pinpoint this down to this. But like at the end of the day, it's like it's hard to pick that one that encompasses everything, and that's some deep shit. That's like maybe like now as we're talking about it out loud, it's like, all right, that's some like life shit. You know, it's hard to pinpoint that one thing. It's like there's a lot of shit going on, you know.
Any closing questions and shit? I have one, but I'm gonna let you.
Yeah, just to add on to like the whole topic of the segment here, just to like add my own thing. I think something that that I've definitely had like a perspective change in is just like my confidence myself, really. Like I think even though like what I'm putting out isn't to like what I know what my potential is, like I always have that in mind. I know my true potential, so I'm like, you know, if I continuously work towards it, I'll eventually reach that. And when I do reach that, that's when people are gonna be like impressed. That's when people are gonna like truly like take it for what it is. And not saying that's my goal, honestly, because at the end of the day, I make music for me. I make a lot of art for me. I'm my biggest fan. I'm my biggest critic. I'm the one that's going to be listening to everything the most. Like, I know you could be my closest homie, but I know you're not going to be bumping my track like on repeat. And I respect that. That's not what I expect. But would I want that to be a goal? Yes. Like, I do eventually want it to become a point where, like my family and my friends will be bumping my shit, like, religiously, you know? Mm-hmm. And, yeah, it's just so many aspects that come into that. But, yeah, like, coming to, like, that full realization, I really give myself a pat on the back and, like, being like, you know what? Like, I can do this. And I feel like everybody should kind of have that confidence instilled already before putting themselves out there and trying to pushing to be what they're trying to be, whatever it is, really.
That's facts. You gotta. If you don't believe in yourself, who will?
Who will?
You know?
Exactly. I stand by that wholeheartedly, for sure.
That's some dope shit. Well, shit, man. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
You for sure for being on the couch and shit with us, man. I was definitely gonna ask you as you go out, what's your favorite? I hate to be this guy, but what's your favorite movie, man?
Hey, favorite movie for sure. That's something I can pinpoint. It's a movie called City of God. It's a Brazilian film. Yeah, I
love that movie.
It's amazing.
You seen that movie?
I don't think I've seen it.
I be telling people, and they be haven't seen it too. There was someone else I told, have you seen it? And they were like, nah, I never seen it.
I'll check it out.
That's one movie first watch, like, I could pinpoint saying,
you know where you see some clips of it at though? When we went to the Freddie Gibbs concert in Madlib.
Oh shit!
And then I was with this fool and Selection, some dude from Selection was opening before them, and he had clips of that shit playing, like to him, like playing songs and shit.
Yeah.
And like remember those little movie clips that were going on, and it was like it was from City of God, bro.
That's interesting.
And I was like, this is ill, and they was like, you're like, nah, I ain't seen it.
Nah. Well, I recommend you to watch it. That's an amazing movie, bro. For real. It's all in subtitles, so like I'm sure that's not a problem too. But yeah.
Yeah. I do have a favorite movie though. That's why I asked. It's that's one of
yours?
the only ones I'm able to be like. So I thought about it and I was like, yeah, there's one I usually say, which is Belly, bro. Is my favorite movie.
For sure, yeah.
I fucking love that movie.
What movie again?
Belly.
Oh, Belly.
You seen Belly, too?
Oh yeah, bro.
It's one of the fucking best movies, bro. It was directed by Hype Williams.
Yeah.
It was like a music video director and like a hella dope one. But like I remember when I saw that shit as a kid, even like it was one of those movies that like I knew about, but I didn't know about, and then it came on one day at like 2, like you know when movies would come on like at 12 to like 2 type shit, or like at 2, and then you'd be like, fuck, like I'm not supposed to stay up and watch this shit, but like it just came on, like I'm gonna just stay up as long as I could. But that was one of the first movies that like just I wanted to keep watching like all the way through type shit, because I was like, just the way it was going, like everything in it was like, it felt like it was late night, and it felt like I was awake as fuck watching it. Like the way the movie was, it was like drug out. Like it was kind of long and drawn out, and it was like it just had me on my like, and I think it was the focus on visuals. Like looking back, like as I went, I was like, that's what that movie was about. Like it had a hella dope story, but it was like one of the first big movies to be directed by a music video director, and probably like the biggest music video director at the time. So it was like bringing all of his music videos to life in a film.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? And it was not based on the themes of the music videos, but it was like stylistically based on his themes. Like there were scenes where they just had like a blue fucking MVS and light over the whole shit, where it's like, and I'm like, damn, that shit looks hard. Like it just, he made everything look just color wise hella ill, and the story was really dope. DMX was in it and Nas was in it, so that's what you sold me, like having those two as the main characters. I even was like, what the fuck, like why are DMX and Nas in the movie acting like? And then this whole DMX of all things, like some crazy shit goes on, and he like has to basically this is like on the run from the cops, yada yada. That's the whole shit. And then Nas is his homie, and Nas wants him to get into like the Bible and all this crazy shit, but he wants to get out the game, and like this one wants to move to Africa and all this kind of shit. And DMX obviously doesn't want to do that, you know what I mean? And pretty much fucking eventually this fool goes to jail, and then they try to get this fool though on some like plea bargain shit to assassinate somebody. And like that's where the movie turns ill, because I'm like, dude, who wrote this? Like this is really crazy. Like because now, and because it's like someone that's at a high level of a church, and he's speaking at like Times Square or some shit, and it's about to be 2000. So mind you, I'm like, they also got the essence of it being like the year 2000, like 1999, like niggas were scared, like, yeah. So it's like it has that vibe in the movie, and I think that caught me, bro. You know what I mean? Like that pressure is what caught me. Like I was just like the pressure of building up, and I was like, damn, this shit is just too good. Like because he started getting close to the church and shit. So then he got so close to the people that he didn't want to murk the dude he had to murk, who was the leader. And because think about it, like you're doing some foul shit, but you really at the time, like you're in jail, you're like, I'll do whatever. But as some months pass and shit, you getting accumulated to real life, you're like, I don't really want to do this. Like, and then it's just some crazy shit, bro. Like that's like kind of the epitome of the movie. It was like, damn.
And to go like back full circle, for me, the way I remember that movie and resemble it most is the cover art from Blockbuster. Every time I would go to Blockbuster, I would see that movie there, and like the cover just stuck out like so distinctly. Like as you said, it's like the blue light, the blue light and everything. And I remember growing up, just always thinking that when I finally watched it, that's like the memory I had linked. Always just seeing the cover at Blockbuster and Hollywood Video, and that's like what motivated me to watch it. So those are
the days, bro.
Those were the days. How about you? Got any favorite movies, bro?
Oh man, as we talk about my struggle with favorite, I don't know, man. I was trying to think about it right now, but
it's just, I think music I struggle more.
Yeah, music for sure.
I don't know, man, because I love so many different movies for so many different reasons.
Same, though.
And it's like that same thing of like the variable of like, is it the one that I can like kind of go to consistently and watch the most, like probably even say like most of the lines, or is it like the one that's like that I remember like hitting me just like in a certain way that it's like, ooh, that's deep, and like, or is it the one that's just kind of like you kind of like you go to in the sense of more like, oh, I want to watch this, and like.
Yeah, like Superbad is always a close second for other reasons, you know what I mean?
For other reasons, though, for sure. No.
Exactly. So it's hard, but I think it's like a toss up between like Dark Knight, Wolf of Wall Street, and Nacho Libre.
And Nacho Libre, let's
A
go.
lot of people really put Nacho Libre high in their films.
Oh, Nacho Libre is amazing.
It's amazing.
I've seen
yeah.
it. It's never been the one for me where I was like, oh shit. But I've came across mad people that have been like they know the soundtrack. They know it's like they really be like,
bro.
I've even came across girls and shit where they be like they don't really, like, you don't fuck with this movie like this. I'm
You
like,
know,
no,
I-
nigga, I've never seen this shit. Like
I
that.
think that might stem from, at least for me, just being Hispanic, since that was like at the time one of the first movies to really
I remember
like,
that shit
put
when I
that
was
on,
young.
like put that culture on, especially coming from Nickelodeon, like that really resonated with me. And like anytime I talk to people that have like that same like connection with that movie, like we
That's
all end up
true.
Hispanic. And like that's why I definitely understand like movies that are like specific to cultures.
That's a
and
big
things
ass
like
movie
that.
though.
Yeah.
That's true.
I'm Hispanic too though.
Yeah.
On some shit, and it's like I feel like it was just Jack Black for me.
Jack Black,
like,
yeah.
I was never like the biggest Jack Black guy.
Okay, that's different.
I think
yeah,
that's
yeah.
why, like, him doing all this little like shit, that was what had me like a little turned off as a kid. I don't know,
Nah,
maybe I was
what's
doing some
up?
burn shit as a kid. Like, I was just like, because at the time, like, that shit landed with me as a kid. Like, all that goofy shit he was doing, but I was just like over it. I was like, nah, like, this was just fat. Like, I was burnt out. Like, I don't know why though, but the movie itself, I think I fucked with the movie itself because I liked Mucha Lucha and shit, man. Like,
Yeah.
I liked the wrestlers. Like, I was into wrestling, but I think I just wasn't into like goofy comedies. Like, I think I had maneuvered to
for
like
sure,
MTV like too early. So I think like once shit started getting a little goofy on Nickelodeon, like after SpongeBob, I think I bounced.
I feel it.
Yeah, that's like that slapstick.
Yeah, that one is
Like I
definitely
should
very
have tuned
goofy.
in. Like one show
But
I
it's,
went
like,
back
low-key
to, I
deep,
missed
like,
around
on the
that time was
half-
Flapjack.
on the back.
Like I went back to watch Flapjack because I missed it because I dipped on cartoons and then everybody was like, "Oh, you sleep. This was hard." And I was like, Flapjack. What?
That shit was like a
That's hard.
fever dream, bro.
It was.
Yeah, that shit was scary, man.
But on the Nacho Libre thing, like maybe it is a big part of like being Hispanic because like you know
Yeah.
I'm Hispanic as well, and like my family loves that movie. It's like a family classic, you know, one that we'll
that
watch
makes
with everyone. But Jack Black is the GOAT, dude. Like,
Yes,
like
bro. Yeah, he
when
is.
it comes to like like as an actor and actually artist, like I'll rank him up there with like Kanye and like.
That's what I'm saying. Like I never his singing, but I understood it. It's one of those voice things. Like you know how some people like certain. I learned this with certain rappers. So some people really they hate their voice. I could never fuck with Jack Black's singing voice and shit. Artistically, you feel me? He might have been getting creative on the Tenacious D shit.
Yeah.
But like
That
I couldn't
specific
hear
style of
his
voice, I
tone
feel
of
you.
voice. Like it was very like. It was his shtick though,
Yeah.
but it
That's
was
his
like
shtick,
his
yeah.
shtick was very just so much like cringy to me. Like it was extra cringy to me to the point where it's like it was hard for me to look past to the genius. But where some people that was doing it for them exactly, there was like he was their Weird Al, like you know what I mean. It was like I
Exactly
love
what I
the
was gonna
fuck that
say,
like
yeah.
he's doing joking, but like
Yeah.
for real at the same time like he has enough creativity that he can joke. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But for me, it was like I couldn't get past the joke, I guess, to dig into the creativity. But rarely, that don't happen to me always. But I feel like that's only a few times where it's like sometimes certain shit be so, like, for him, it was really hard for me. I don't know why.
I mean, just to bring this up
But
real
maybe
quick.
he was the GOAT, though, of being goofy. I
Yeah,
gotta
no,
give it to
yeah.
him. He was the GOAT. So it's almost that maybe that's why I couldn't get it. It's just because, like, I'm used to the mediocre
Yeah,
goofiness.
nah, like I owe a lot of my childhood to that man, like for sure, bro.
He's the GOAT. He's the
But
GOAT.
like, I recently revisited watching School of Rock, bro.
That's such a good movie.
And honestly, in every aspect, that movie is like amazing.
That was a
Like
good- I
it's
like that
not
movie.
even like it's not like a slapstick comedy or
It's like just
anything.
written like a
It's
regular
it's
movie.
actually
Yeah.
written, shot, and like, everything about that movie is just like smooth. It's so good. And like rewatching it, I was just so impressed. Last time I saw it, I was like a little kid. And I was like, nah, this is a solid film. Like this is really good.
That's true.
It's like and there's a lot of good like meaning to it, and a lot of emotion behind that movie too. So that kind of solidified Jack Black as a GOAT for me for
I
sure.
feel that. Hell yeah. Well, shit. That was.
Thank you for coming though, for
Yeah,
sure, bro.
thank
I mean,
you, bro.
it was
Thank
great
you.
having you on the
Yeah,
pod.
appreciate it.
Thank
This
you, man.
is
It was-
this is some of the better conversations and shit we've had
Hell
on the
yeah.
pod.
Hell yeah.
Like we really, I feel like took it to. I don't know how long it's been. Hella long though.
How long people been rocking this?
I feel like it's probably definitely one of the longer ones, and I think my phone probably recorded most of this. So
We are at 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Let's go.
yeah, my phone
This is a
definitely
big
stopped
one.
recording
This is a big
properly, but I'm gonna bet I'll roll the dice and say we got 2 hours of that.
For sure, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? But all right, so we'll close it out with some jams, and till next time, everybody. Peace.
All right, see ya.
Oh, wait. Before we leave, where can people find you?
Oh yeah, my bad. Give them I forgot about all that. Give them your ads, your music. Tell them about your new jam dropper,
No,
man.
you good. I got a new track coming up. So probably by the time this is out, I'll have that song out. Hopefully a few more too. I've been working hard, but you can find me at Sus Yayo, Twitter and Instagram. I also have like my art page where I post all my covers and like music and stuff. That's gonna be at YGP Gallery. So I'll say that's the best place to really find me at if you want to be updated with my work. But yeah, thank you for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Crush from the weight of all this news. Don't tell the truth. I'd rather hear that I can't lose what I wanna do. Change where my mind goes. Pitfall, Geronimo. Flying through these obstacles, I'm waiting for the wrong folks. Close my eyes, peeking through, I need a blindfold. See these lies in the light, what you lying for? Treat me right, yet you fighting with my side, I know. No bitch can manipulate me. Fuck your sign, out of line for reciprocating. She mighty fine, worth my time, can't humiliate me. Which way is mine? I got to find why my minute taking so long. Off the rip, my bomb gon' crack through the slips. I'm backpacking, acid lasting longer than it ever had happened. You can't ration, you waste habits. I take action.
À l'heure où blanchit la campagne, je partirai. Vois-tu, je sais que tu m'attends.